is you go out to Google and you say, I'd like to find a 4-week trip to the national parks of the Southwest. And it would come back with things like some random photography blogs, regular old blogs, tour companies, and even like a trip on the Amtrak, which wasn't going to help us much in the RV space. And we realized that there must be something like Expedia or TripAdvisor or something like that to help the RVer, because people have been doing this for many, 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 many decades. You'd think that there would be some pretty cool itineraries that told you where to go, like for the national parks of the Southwest. You would think that you'd see something that had Bryce Canyon and Moab and Arches and Capitol Reef and so forth, tell you the order to go, how long to stay, the route to take, and then where to stay.
And there was nothing. I'm guessing that you had to do all of the legwork for all of that. Yeah, and I mean that would take days in itself to plan a trip, because you go up to some camping site that you really had heard about and want to stay at. Oh, I'm sorry, we're full. Okay, now what do we do?
Yeah, we've been full for 2 years.
Yeah, that's right.
A friend of mine who does a lot of RVing was telling me that some of these campsites at certain locations may be booked out 2 years in advance. So it's not like you can just walk up to the door and park your RV.
Right.
And the other thing he said, which I'm assuming AdventureGenie.com does, is, RV centers can be something as simple as a flat space and an electrical plug to almost a resort level facility.
That's right.
And depending on what you're looking for as an RVer, are you just looking for a place to park for a couple of days, or are you looking for a little bit of that resort life that certain RV parks can offer?
That is exactly right. And that's where the magic of artificial intelligence meets travel planner here. Because the more a user uses Adventure Genie, the more we learn about you. And we'll know that maybe you're a little bit more of a resort oriented, or maybe you're more budget oriented, or you like to stay in the woods, or you want to stay in the camps that have all the amenities. Or we know that when you're heading west, you like to take a more northerly route. And when you're heading back east, you like to take a more southerly route. Or when you're going out to Yellowstone, that you want to power your way out there and you don't mind staying in a campground, or you want to stay in a campground just, a quarter of a mile off the interstate, and you don't mind if it takes a little bit longer to get there. But when you're coming home from your trip, you just want to power home, drive 12 hours a day. And we'll learn all about that, so that when you go into Adventure Genie and say you want to take this trip, we'll know about you, we'll know about the campgrounds, we'll know about the routes, we'll know about the places you want to stay, and we'll customize it for you where you feel like you almost have a concierge service that's building the trip for you.
What if you have a problem with your camper? Let's say you have a motorized camper that, it's got its own power and you don't have a car towing behind it. And there are places that I understand that you can go camping at that actually have facilities, another camper as it were, a rental property, that while your car is being fixed, you got a place to stay.
There are some of the, you know what, who's adding a lot of those now, like the Love's truck stops and Pilot truck stops, which that works really well if you're driving a big, something built on a Freightliner or something. But you're exactly right. And that's one of the things that we're building into our system. They're points of interest. Points of interest can be something as interesting as, amusement parks or hiking trails.
Or a Buc-ee's along the way.
Or a Buc-ee's, which are really, every time we drive our rig into a Buc-ee's, we end up just driving around the parking lot looking for a parking space, because they are not very big rig friendly. And we don't even have that big a rig.
Right.
Kind of 35 foot with a tow. But Buc-ee's are pretty fun and they're pretty cool. But yeah, so we're including those types of things, those points of interest that help you to refuel, and service stations, and if you wanted to get a wash and wax. So we're really building a custom solution for the RV or for the traveler, for the camper, not only to do the cool vacationing stuff, but to support them on their journey.
So is some of what makes Adventure Genie better than anything else that's out there, and I'm listening to you, and there really isn't anything else that's out there, are you tracking the device that people access you on so you can kind of learn their travel experience in tracking so that you can make the offer that follows what their geolocation is?
Right, uh-huh.
So I want to differentiate. We actually don't build an app yet. It's not something that you run on your phone. It's more of a planning app. So you're going to use it on an iPad or on your computer or your Mac, because we find that people, it's really meant to be an advance of the actual trip, so that you could shape your trip and decide you want to go to the Upper Peninsula and work your way down to the Badlands, and you just kind of like shape your trip. You add your stops, you find your stays, you add your points of interest. Much of it being done automatically by us, but a lot being customized by the user. We find that when people want to do that, they want to use a big screen and have real estate to plan that trip. We do allow you to run the app on your phone, but it's not as great of experience when you're on that little phone trying to, to do a big plan like this. On the geolocation, not so much. It'll definitely work on your computer. You could say, I want to start my trip from here, and it will know where you are. What we do track, though, is the things that you're looking at and the things that you're doing. So if we find that you're generally taking these trips up through Michigan, we're gonna remember that, and we're gonna make recommendations based on that. Think of it like the Netflix style. If any of you use Netflix and you come in, it says, because you watched, you might want to see this. We're gonna do the same thing. Because you took a trip to the national parks of the Southwest, you might be interested in this Yellowstone and Glacier trip. Because you stayed in this campground with this particular set of amenities, you might like this campground when you're in a different location. So the things that we're tracking are the things that you're browsing, the things that you like, the things that you add to your trip. And we use our artificial intelligence behind the scene to find the patterns of what you're doing, such that it's just automatic for you that we're making these recommendations for you.
Well, Scott, this absolutely sounds fantastic. And I'm not a camper, but I'm definitely going to check it out. So it's adventuregenie.com. And I assume that we can find out all of the things that we talked about here this morning.
Absolutely. And we also have a special deal for your listeners that if they enter Wheel Time 60, we're going to give them a 60% discount for a 1-year subscription.
Yay! Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
well,
perfect.
We appreciate that. Yeah, very much so. Well, listen, let's check in again at the end of the summer travel season and see how things are going, because this is a new venture for you. How long have you been in business now?
1 week. We launched 1 week ago.
Well, that's great. Well, good. Well, I'd like to think that we're along the road trip with you to get you started as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Scott, thank you very much. We appreciate your time, and we'll check back with you again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You bet.
What a great idea. What a great idea. I mean, it's a matter of, I guess he lives that lifestyle, so he's looking for something to do that, and he can't find it, so he creates it himself.
Well, it's the reality of the AAA triptych.
Kind of, yes.
So this is the AI version of that.
Yeah. Well, all I'm thinking of is, his next, once he gets this all down, his next is going to be hotrodtour.com, and then we'll go in that route. Well, Mr. Mars,
last week.
I'm glad that you could join us. Is everything okay?
Everything is great. If it was any better, you'd be me.
Oh, my God. Don't go there. Don't go there, please.
Is any better? I'd be naked.
No, I just threw up in my throat.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Oh, my God.
That was bad.
Oh, man.
Hey. You go first. I'll be behind you.
No.
I don't need you behind me.
No. Easy.
Go there,
Easy.
So time now for the events calendar as we move right along. Now, Conrad, let me explain to you. I know that you've been on the show for 10 years with us, but this is the events calendar. This is not the cruise.
This is future stuff.
This is events
tomorrow stuff.
Well, it could be an event going on today, but not a cruise in. That's another separate feature. So events, please.
Like you getting naked, that's an event.
That is an event.
And that'll
Can we leave that?
That'll be tonight.
All right.
No, Mars, we're going to haunt you
when
with
I'm home
that.
by myself.
All right. God, go.
Please.
Well,
go.
June 24th, the Lone Star Drift Round 3 at the Houston Police Academy. And, if you want to go drive, great. you can just go watch and have a good time as well. If you want to see drifting at a higher level than all these,
Angst
city
up boys.
takeovers, things that are happening.
Angst up boys, yeah.
So it's June 24th, starting at 10 a.m. And ending June 25th at 9:15 p.m. out at the Houston Police Academy, which is still out there by the airport, right off of Rankin Road.
Yeah, up there.
So take 45 up to Rankin.
And don't get all freaked out because it's the police academy. They've got a great big, huge, what I would call a skid pad up there. Oh, it's great.
And lots of auto sports stuff happens there.
Yep.
With permission from the police department, because I know BMW goes there, Porsche goes there, Corvette goes there. I think even Richard Tomlin has events there every now and then with SCCA. So they're very well set up.
If you want to do an autocross course, that's the place to do it because the concrete's nice and smooth. They set up the cones. It's not a high-speed event, but it really tests your driving skills and something like that. Anyway, go ahead.
So, well, that's kind of the biggest thing here local I wanted to talk about was the Lone Star Drift.
Well, I've got one for you. There it is. I mentioned it at the
diggity.
top of the show.
Corvette Invasion, July 14th through the 16th, and that is going to be the largest Corvette show in Central Texas. Is this considered Central Texas or Southern Texas?
No, we were Southeast Texas.
Southeast, yeah.
Well, this is Houston. Okay.
So,
Just saying. But at any rate, CorvetteInvasion.com will get you all the information, but that's coming up in July.
rain or shine.
Yep, exactly. All right, time now for this hour's car review.
All right.
Mr. Mars had a chance to drive the 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee.
And it's the Jeep Grand Cherokee Trailhawk 4xE. So this is another one of the electrified versions of the Jeep vehicles that
But
are
it's
coming
not
out.
an EV.
It's not a full-blown EV. It is a hybrid, but it's a plug-in EV, I guess is what you would call it.
Oh,
You
it
can
is.
plug it in to charge the
I think
battery
they
and
call
stuff.
it PHEV.
Yes, you could, but I just figured plug-in hybrid works better. So this is a mid-size vehicle, a mid-size SUV. It's one of the Jeep vehicles, been around for years. This is actually the 5th gen of the Grand Cherokee. The 4xE was actually introduced in 2022, and there are now 6 trim levels, and the Trailhawk is actually the mid-level trim package.
Really?
This is a 5-passenger version. You can get a bigger one but don't bother with the third seat. So the 4xE was new for 2022, so it's been updated to 2023. So we've got a reshaped front 7-slot grille. Got to keep all the Jeep stuff, rain sensing wipers, LED fog lights. Got blue tow hooks front and rear. Now this kind of goes to that Trailhawk off-road styling that it's got. Got some unique decals and badging for the Trailhawk. Power side mirrors, roof rails, dual panel sunroof. Got hands-free liftgate. 18x8 aluminum wheels, which I was really glad to see because they didn't go to the 20s with the rubber band tires because this is a full capacity off-road vehicle and does carry a full-size spare. It's even got a backup camera washer, which could be important. So, again, it's some unique styling to the Trailhawk. It's not traditionally Jeep, so it gets a lot of comments. So it'll kind of grow on you. Inside, the first row is heated and ventilated seating. The second row is a 60/40 folding arrangement that is also heated. Now, you've got a 10.1-inch touchscreen that's in the center stack, but it's also got a passenger display that'll do a lot of the things that the passengers can access from over there where they're at. And it's actually got an HDMI connection that it was pointed out to me that you could actually plug in and watch a movie over on the passenger side through your HDMI player.
Wow.
So there's a lot of connectivity.
Why
in
would
this
you want to
vehicle.
do that in a car? Why would you want to do if
So
you're
you could watch Hollywood Nights, Don.
While you're driving down the road?
Lawrence.
Yes.
Never mind.
Yeah. So there's a lot of connectivity. The front's got the USB and the HDMI. The second row also has USB ports on it. It's got a selectable 360 surround camera system, so you can pick front and rear camera, whichever camera you want, which could be really good going off-road because this is a fully trail-rated vehicle. And we had the Alpine 9-speaker audio system with a subwoofer on it. Now, to make all this stuff work, up under the hood, there's a 2.0-liter inline 4-cylinder turbo. And it's got 2 electric motors that work with it, and you package it all together, and you end up with 375 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque.
That's pretty good.
Backed by an 8-speed automatic, so it works really well, particularly at the low speeds, like if you were going off-roading. Now, properly equipped, this vehicle will tow 3,500 pounds. It'll carry 1,200 pounds, The total gross weight of this, I was surprised, is at 6,900 pounds. Now, because this is a hybrid, combined, the EPA says you should expect about 23 miles per gallon on the gas motor only. You should get about 56 miles per gallon on the electric. So
Wow.
put it all together with the gas tank, and you got a 456-mile range in this vehicle. So it'll get you a lot of places that some of the others won't. I drove it 276.9 miles. I averaged 19.7 miles to what I would say was the gallon. I drove 54.6 miles of it was on the EV, and 223.3 miles was on the gas motor. So I didn't really have it in town a lot to really take advantage
data
of it.
available in the driver information center?
Yes, I pulled that straight from it, and it'll tell you. So again, I was on the highway a lot, so I kind of skewed it towards the gas engine. There's 5 drive modes. It's got air suspension, so you can adjust the ride height for the off-road business. Base trim price on the base model on the Grand Cherokee is $59,865. Base trim price on the 4xe is $65,260. We had $7,800 worth of options, which puts the MSRP to $73,125.
It's a good looking vehicle, though.
Yeah, it's got very unique. I couldn't really find anything to compare it to besides, I mean, there's plug-in hybrids out there from Santa Fe,
but nothing that's
for 41,
trail rated like
but
this.
it's not trail rated. It's not equipped the same. So mid-size, there's a bunch of them to choose from, but again, this is a Jeep and it's trail rated, and you get what you get.
The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available 24/7 through the iHeartRadio app. Just look for In Wheel Time Car Talk. We also video stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, at InWheelTime.com, and 30-minute podcasts are at your fingertips on over a dozen of the most popular podcast outlets. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show continues right after this quick break.
Are you a car enthusiast? Come experience the 27th annual Keels and Wheels Classic Car and Boat Show. Join us Saturday, May 6th and Sunday, May 7th at the Lakewood Yacht Club in Seabrook. This fun family event features vintage and contemporary race cars from Le Mans, Indy, Formula One, NASCAR, and much more. See classic and vintage boats of all types, not to mention American and European pre- and post-war classics. Pre-sale tickets are $30. Students are just $15. Children 12 and under are free. Purchase your tickets today at keelsandwheels.com.
Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around, and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6, or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. It's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, we're going to talk to Kevin Fitzpatrick. He's with Opus IVS. It's going to be a fascinating interview, and we want you to stay tuned, especially if you're thinking about EVs. Later, a look at the stories making automotive news headlines. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Thanks so much for joining us on this Saturday. And we're just going to get right to it because I'm excited about this interview, and I think you will be too once you hear this. So he sent us this, and I think that it pretty much says it all. Instead of me stumbling and mumbling my way through the introduction, I'm just going to read this, and you'll get the gist of what he does. So J.D. Power released its 2023 U.S. Aftermarket Service Index, the ASI study, which found that while overall vehicle owner satisfaction continues to decline in the three segments of quick oil change, full service maintenance and repair, and tire replacement, aftermarket service providers can expect a revenue jolt thanks to ever-increasing EV marketplace service needs. According to the study, tire repair and replacement needs for EVs trend much higher than the industry average for internal combustion engines, ICE engines, 49% versus 28%. Respectively, for tire maintenance, 41% versus 12%, respectively, for tire repair. 34% versus 21%, respectively, for tire replacement. So Kevin Fitzpatrick is the Senior Vice President of North American Operations for Opus IVS. And Kevin, hey, we really appreciate you joining us today.
Great. Thanks for having me, guys.
You bet. So, highlighting the J.D. Power survey results, including all of the figures that we just said, say they're very unlikely to consider an EV for the next purchase, as the lack of repair shops dedicated to EV service is a main concern. Well, yeah, it would be, because I would like to think, and this is just me, I know that I'm not educated enough in the service industry to know, but I would like to think that most non-dealer service repair facilities are not equipped to handle EVs. Am I correct?
That is correct. And, you know, it's guys have been resistant to kind of jumping into the EV thing, and you really can't deny that these things are coming. You know, I personally disagree with the volume at which, you know, for instance, our own government says they're coming. You know, they're not going to be 30% of the car park in a few years. That's just not going to happen. But it is an increasingly it's a growing segment. You know, I think what most shops can do is install an EV charger, kind of make a broadcast to the industry that you are willing to service these vehicles, get your technicians trained. There's no magic in these things, and there's money to be made servicing them. What you just mentioned about the tires, for instance, you know, these vehicles have two things going for them: lots of torque, and they're heavier.
Yep,
you know,
exactly.
For instance, a Tesla Model 3, for example, is about, you take an equally sized vehicle like a Honda Accord or a BMW 5 Series. That Tesla is about 1,200 pounds heavier than those other two vehicles. So it's quick and it's heavy, which means it's gonna eat up a lot of tires, which means, you know, there's money to be made for the aftermarket.
Well, you mentioned something kind of quickly back there a minute or so ago about get your technicians trained.
Yeah.
Are there sources of training for the independent technicians out there on the EV market? I know most of the technician training that I've experienced for the EV market has been OEM training for their dealership people. Is that open to the independent market as well?
It is, and there's some really great training. You know, I point out Worldpac. You know, Worldpac, Advanced Auto Parts. A lot of the part suppliers are offering a lot of EV training right now. Opus, you know, IVS. Not to plug my own company, but you know, we're doing a lot of training with some of our training partners as well. We have, you know, we go out and we hire these experts. We have a Tesla expert on staff, and we've sent our own dealer guys back to the manufacturers to get trained up on these things. Training is available for the aftermarket. First thing, I want to just say this: any shop, before you lay your hands on these cars, you have got to get your technicians a safety course. Okay, whereas on an ICE vehicle, internal combustion vehicle, getting shocked was more funny than it was dangerous, right? I mean, we've all been shocked by a coil before. There's nothing funny about these vehicles. I mean, this amperage will kill you.
Oh, yeah, because, I know one of the things at the OEM level, they even talk about having a long 2x4 or a long piece of plastic that you could pry the guy off of the device without electrocuting yourself, because once 400 volts and 40 amps, 60 amps, 100 amps gets a hold of you, it holds on. You know, it's not a matter of just taking that secondary ignition shock and jumping back. This is going to hold on to you while it's electrocuting you.
It's actually a required tool. It looks like one of those big cartoony hooks that they used to pull people off stage with.
Right.
Did you actually grab the guy and pull him off the vehicle? You know, God forbid that ever happens.
Well, Kevin, here's something that I wanted to throw at you. You know, when you change like this in the auto industry, there is an investment, especially for the independent guy that doesn't really have the income to invest $250,000 in EV repair stuff that he's going to need to do this. And, you know, how do you justify that kind of money for only, if everything works out the way they say it's going to be, 30% of the market?
Well, it's not. It's that the numbers you're stating. That's not correct. It's not the. It's considerably less than that. For instance, the Tesla Toolbox. It's a subscription that you can subscribe to. Actually, the software.
Yep.
To be able to work on these vehicles. The training is probably the largest component. You know what I mean? You're probably looking about $8,000 or $10,000 to get a technician trained, or to go out and hire a technician. The tooling isn't much different, with the exception of the software to work on these vehicles. You know, the biggest thing is, if you look at your customers for an independent repair shop, right? It's 10 times more expensive to go out and get a new customer than it is to retain a customer. So if you've had a customer for a number of years, right, and he's kind of gone through the progression, right? He's driven his GMs, and then he went out and got himself a Volkswagen. If that customer goes out and gets a Tesla, you don't want to lose them. Right. I mean, again, you want to keep your customer base. You want to grow your customer base.
Yes.
You don't want to bleed them to a guy that's willing to make that investment.
Well, and the other thing is, specialized shops understand they have to make a tool investment. You know, you look at some of these, I'll call the high-end European specialty shops. You know, there's a $50,000-$60,000 investment in diagnostic equipment that they have to make to do that. So why would that investment be any different than an investment in becoming more of a specialized EV shop? Because if you're a specialized EV shop, you may stand alone in the community, you know, and that's going to earn you lots and lots of business because nobody else is doing it except the OE.
Now, you talked also about the tires. We all talked about the tires. The tire manufacturers are creating better tires for the EVs. I don't say better, but different tires for the EVs.
I was going to say, don't they have a own specific market?
They have
for
a
EVs?
specific market for that, and it's the manufacturers that are leading the way on that. And to the point of having a tire manufacturer or a car manufacturer building for their clients, the tire manufacturers are building for those automobiles. They could have the exclusivity of that product on a Tesla, be it a Goodyear, be it a Bridgestone, whatever. So they're working hard to get that niche market of that EV.
Yep, I mean, that's absolutely correct. I mean, if you look at all of them, the Ford, the Mach-E, I mean, the Audi, the e-trons, all of these, all the manufacturers, right? They've all got their electrified product at this point. I mean, if you can be the guy in your neighborhood, you just, you know, I mean, again, there's plenty of money to be made.
Tell me more about your company, Opus IVS. What do you do?
We provide tools, both the mechanical and the collision industry, for pre and post scanning. I think the main differentiator between our company, as we started a long time ago, was we have factory master technicians on staff. We have about 100 technicians on staff. And on the average day, we're doing about 800 calls from customers where we're able to connect to a vehicle remotely and either program that vehicle or make a diagnostic decision with the customer. So we're providing support to the aftermarket. So we take our customers, and if, let's say, you don't have a BMW expert on staff, but you're servicing the vehicles.
Right.
You get to a point where you can plug our tool in. One of our BMW master technicians will interface with your technician and help him make a diagnostic decision on what's up with the vehicle's running condition.
So do you charge these garages a monthly fee, or is it a per call kind of thing?
It's a monthly fee. We also have we have a per call model as well, but our largest part of our customer base is a monthly subscription.
So you provide the brains, the shop has to provide the hands.
That's correct. I mean, it works really well for us. I mean, our customers, they there's two things that happen every time we interface with a customer, right? Number one, we're making a diagnostic decision, right? The customer is getting a higher level of service and repair. That's number one. The other thing is there's a training component that goes on. So every time one of our techs is on the phone with a technician in a shop, we're working with him and kind of educating him on the various ins and outs of the different systems. So, it works out for both.
So the device, the interface device that you offer through your subscription is a two-way communication device that just plugs into the ALDL connector.
That's correct. Yeah. So it's a full scan tool, and on that scan tool, there's a button that just says request support. And when you hit request support, it sends a message into our techs, and one of our brand specific technicians then contacts you back.
So that would have been a real helpful tool had the place that worked on Leslie's Jaguar
butchered
F-Pace, that they butchered it charged $4,000 to the warranty company, much less the $2,000 out of her pocket that she had to pay, and they totally screwed the pooch on that one.
Yeah, I mean, one of the main things we do, and that's kind of interesting, is we have some really great customers, really great technicians in these shops where, these components are expensive, right? Jaguar is a perfect example. Jaguar Land Rover. Sometimes these modules are $1,500 or $1,800, right?
Yep.
And then that technician will get to a point where he says, I'm about 90% sure in my diagnosis, but you know what? I want to talk to a Land Rover technician. So we'll call up, we'll interface, we'll dial into the vehicle, and he'll say, this is my diagnosis. This is what I've done. What do you think? And our technician will say, you know what? You're 100% right. Your diagnosis is correct. Feel comfortable. Go out and buy that module.
Or
not only does it,
or if that doesn't work,
I've seen this before. Here's another avenue that I've seen, that their experience of your technician kind of makes the technician that's hands-on the vehicle a little bit smarter, because two minds are better than one.
Exactly right. Like I said, they feel much more comfortable again going out and spending that $1,800, so they know when they plug it in, right? They're gonna have a happy customer. It's not going to turn into story time like with the F-Pace, right? $4,000 later, and you have a car you're probably going to fix for $400, right?
Yeah. No.
And I totally agree with your model, because I spent 25 years as a field engineer with General Motors, and for me, there are some extremely smart technicians out there in the field, and I would lean on them to help make me smarter, and they would lean on me to help make them smarter. Again, because you get 2 points of view of, the diagnostic process is pretty black and white that's available, but there's still 2 ways to go about it. And in doing that, everybody gets a wider view of what's wrong with the vehicles, because step one is what's physically wrong with the vehicle. You got to understand that, and how all of that integration between all these different modules happens before you determine what you have to do to fix it. So the experience of different people bring that knowledge to the diagnostic process.
That's absolutely correct. And like I said, when we have, 800 touches a day with our customers, there's very few problems, we haven't seen, that day, that week, or that month.
It's very interesting. And so I assume that as the days and weeks go on and EV sales continue to grow, that you guys are dealing more and more with the EV part of the supply.
Yeah, we are. We absolutely are. We had to come out with a special cable set so our customers could interface into a Tesla. And then we have a guy who's specific to two Teslas. And, we, like I said, we sent all of our techs back to get trained up on, the Mach-E and the e-tron and all of the other EV products. The one thing we ask our customers is, we just want to make sure they all have a safety certificate before we go hands-on with them and provide them support, because as you guys said, they are the hands.
Where do you get the safety certificate?
You get to go take a safety course. You know what I mean? And it's specific, and we want to make sure they have the proper gloves and the hook and all of the other safety equipment in the shop. Because, again, we just want to, these things they need to be respected. You know what I mean? There's nothing funny about these things. It's a different vehicle, right? And it's You know, it's not a nuclear submarine, but it's
Close to it, yeah.
Well, and some manufacturers actually require the technician to basically put out crime tape around the repair stall while they're working on certain parts of an EV vehicle.
Crime tape.
Well,
kind of
I don't know a better
appropriate.
way to explain it, but they actually
They
have
rope it
you
off.
kind of
Stanchions. Put
stanchion
stanchions
that
in.
off so that somebody doesn't accidentally walk in there and get bit.
Well,
Because
if you've got a shop that's nothing but EVs in the repair facility,
everybody would understand.
well, yeah, you wouldn't really
So
necessarily have
is
to do
there
that.
is there an educational component when your garages sign on with you guys for help in that regard?
Yeah, we're constantly educating our customers. We do plenty of webinars. We do face-to-face training with our customers as well. You know, because for us, like I said, in order for us to scale our business, the more educated our customers are, you know what I mean, the more they can connect and do themselves, the more familiar they are with the systems, you know, the easier our job is.
So I'm going to ask this based on what I hear in your accent. What part of the Northeast are you located in?
I am from Long Island, New York.
No.
Long Island.
Yeah, well, so you're speaking to another Long Islander.
Oh,
over
no,
here.
I'm Westchester County.
He's Alcatraz.
Forgive me.
Alcatraz.
Right across the sound, so not too far.
Yeah. Well, so Kevin, if we have a service facility that is actually ready to step into all of this, how do they get a hold of you and your operation there at Opus IVS?
You just got to go to opusivs.com. They can look us up, or I'm Kevin Fitzpatrick at opusivs.com. I'd be happy to speak to these guys, you know, and get them involved with our training. You know, we've got, and I would love to put anybody that wants to on the phone with any of our technicians, you know, just to kind of get an idea of the, the knowledge base and the quality of the techs that they can talk to on a daily basis.
Do you have a facility where all the techs are located, or are they all over the United States?
We have several. Like some of our, again, most of our techs are in-house. We have a facility here on Long Island in Comac. We have another one in Dexter, Michigan. Another one in Huntington Beach. So we have 3 large facilities. One of them is about 50,000 square feet, and the other about 8,000 square feet. So yeah, we have plenty of techs. And I think, again, another point is I think it's important to have all of the technicians kind of together, because every once in a while a customer will call up with something we haven't seen before or a really perplexing problem, and 3 or 4 of these guys will kind of get together and kind of bounce stuff off each other, you know what I mean, to make sure that customer
Makes sense.
I'd love to be the fly on the wall in that kind of
And that's something I've always said, manufacturers, a car is a car is a car. Each manufacturer just kind of goes about it a little bit differently, but it's still, things interact together kind of the same way, just a manufacturer may have their own aspect to it. So, again, like I said, joining minds together makes you guys smarter as a group. So having people in a
Sort of
big
like
room.
us.
Yeah,
That's why we need somebody with artificial intelligence, because we have none.
yeah. No, it's all artificial.
So people that can reach out to you, I mean, it can be just basically a 2-man shop up to a full-blown dealership.
Yep, absolutely. And by the way, the dealership, this model is what the dealerships employ today, right? I mean, they used to send their experts out to get onto a problem vehicle. Now they just plug in and there's a central base of information. So it's very similar to what some of the dealers do. We're just providing a higher level of service to the aftermarket.
So you're a technical assistance center for the independent world.
That's correct.
Yeah.
All makes, all models. Yep.
Kevin, it's great to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining us today. A world of information,
Good stuff.
and we really appreciate it.
That is great
and
stuff.
that's opusivs.com.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks very much, and thanks again for having me.
Thank you. Let's talk again
Thank
soon.
you.
Kevin Fitzpatrick, a great interview. I love to hear about these things because it's kind of like, ooh, peel back the curtain and learn how all of this works back
Cutting
there.
edge, too.
It means there's still hope out there.
There is still
You just
hope.
got to find them.
Yeah, and there's
hope for your Jaguar.
There's not hope for the Jaguar. I'm convinced
no.
that there's no hope for that. That's going to be that's an ongoing issue.
Still?
Oh yeah. So after the repair, which happened almost a year ago, right? With the
At the Jaguar dealer.
No, not at the Jaguar dealer. This was an independent shop because she had one of those warranties, right?
recommended
And
that
they
shop.
had no, yeah, you have to go to one of their shops that totally screwed the pooch. $4,000 to the warranty company that you all know about that, and $2,000 out of Leslie's pocket. Later, it's still not repaired, so we wound up having to take it to Jaguar to spend another $1,000. They fixed it because they knew what the problem was, and the oil change was part of all of this mess that happened a year ago. We didn't ask for it. They just gave it. They didn't give it to us. They charged us for it twice for oil changes. Well, guess what? There's a pool of oil out there in my driveway. So guess what the problem was?
Plug.
They stripped
No.
the drain plug.
Nope. It was the oil filter, which sits on top of the engine, and it has an O-ring seal on this Jaguar thing, right? So it's leaking. Take it off. It wasn't put on properly, and it had a little lip on the O-ring that the oil was leaking out of. Dripped down the engine. This took months for it to do, and the longer it went on, the worse it got, and they created it. So it went and had the oil changed with the new filter that cost $35 for the filter. The oil change was $110 with a discount.
And you know what? You still have a Jaguar. So it's going to happen again.
I just would like to recommend a Cadillac in this instance.
The only way to stop that is to get rid of the
That's
Jaguar.
exactly right.
I know a guy that knows a guy that's got a Cadillac.
Golly.
Hey,
Anyway,
I'm not changing the.
Get an
I'm out.
Escalade V Series for it.
There you
Don.
go.
yeah, right.
And you can do your cabin filters yourself. I'm out.
Or get one of those remote filter kits like we used to put on the hot rods, and so that you could put the filter down behind the radiator
Oh,
someplace.
it's well, yeah. It's
So
what
to
they
get
call
the
that
oil change, we went to one place that she'd gotten it changed before. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have the filter. You're going to have to go buy the filter or get it changed somewhere else. We can't help you. But, oh, Christ. So I go and buy the filter for $35 at O'Reilly's, okay? A Wix filter, but it's an open element filter that goes inside of a can
Canister,
that has
yeah.
Cartridge.
Yeah, $35 for it. So it's basically a half of a oil filter. To me, that's a half of an oil filter. Take it to one place, the 5-minute place that you see advertised. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't work on Jaguars. Boom, there it is. Of course you don't, because it's a total pain. Nobody would. So we take it back to the other place. Do they use the drain plug? No, we don't use the drain plug. We learned a long time ago that's not the way to go. So they put this great big
Suction hose.
enema thing down in there.
Enema thing.
Enema thing, and they suck the oil out of the oil pan.
Don has experience with this.
Technical terms here. Try not to be so technical, Don.
And that's one of the.
So do they have to turn the Jaguar upside down to do it?
Does it cough?
They put it on its knees.
Raise the back end of it up.
It backfires like a cough.
Turn your head and cough.
I
so hope Leslie's watching.
put your knees on these pads, and we're gonna tilt the table down.
Yeah, it's a yoga experience. Dogward down.
And we just had technicians on for EVs.
You know, I don't.
And the good news is they still own a Jaguar.
There she is.
Look at that.
Oh, we are in so much trouble.
There's a lot of finger pointing going on
Apparently, she was watching.
behind the scenes. Not anymore. We just lost a viewer.
Yeah.
Our second one.
How funny. The evil eye.
I know. And the finger pointing is what got me.
Oh, Don, you're in so much trouble again. Still,
I'm glad I'm going home after this.
I know
me with
that
you.
the volume on the television when I get back in there is going to be turned up quite a bit. What did he say? Did he say that about my car?
Well, I think she heard every bit of it
Yeah.
from that look.
You know, I want you to submit this section of the In Real Time Car Talk Show to the what is it? Some award thing that
Auto
you
Riders.
Auto Writers,
Texas
yeah.
Auto Riders,
Yeah, send that in.
it's better than Jimmy Kimmel.
No, I think we should send the Faust Hotel interview.
Oh, there's that.
Yeah.
I hope that you got a chance to see the Faust Hotel.
Oh, my God. I haven't yet.
Well, it's not all up there.
I'm afraid.
What do you
to
mean
do
it's
it.
not all up there?
Well,
Yeah,
it was
you
like
sliced and
40-something
diced.
minutes, and we only needed 27 and a half. So
Well,
it kinda
whatever.
got edited
I
a
hope
little
that
bit.
you edit it in such
Thank
a way that you
goodness.
took all the highlights and the best part of it out of there. and
Took
use that.
all the downside of me out.
So George,
Oh
he
yeah,
did.
because there was a lot of that. Yeah.
Mars
That's good,
didn't
Mike.
say anything. He just kind of sat there.
Well, you were berating him. He couldn't get a word in.
With nothing I could say.
Exactly.
So we were running.
So George goes, Leslie, on behalf of Don's friends, we're both sorry.
Oh, Lord.
Of course.
By the way, I had dinner with George and his beautiful wife Twyla last week on the Hot Rod Tour of Texas. A delightful evening, and George, it was good to see you for the first time in years.
Yeah.
Since high school. So it's been a long time, but we picked up just where we left off.
And he hasn't changed since. Has he?
Not a bit. Absolutely not. Oh my gosh. Well, that was fun.
We just blew right by features and headlines.
We did. Well, we didn't have any features, and the headlines were going to have to move to the next hour. Again, I kind of lost track of time, and we got a little sidetracked there on the Jaguar, didn't we?
Squirrel.
It is. Well, it's time for a quick break now. There is a God in the room. Thank you. It's time for a break. We all take a deep breath and start all over again for the next hour. Quick break now. We're right back. You're on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show on iHeartRadio.
Are you a car enthusiast? Come experience the 27th annual Keels and Wheels Classic Car and Boat Show. Join us Saturday, May 6th and Sunday, May 7th at the Lakewood Yacht Club in Seabrook. This fun family event features vintage and contemporary race cars from Le Mans, Indy, Formula One, NASCAR, and much more. See classic and vintage boats of all types, not to mention American and European pre- and post-war classics. Pre-sale tickets are $30. Students are just $15. Children 12 and under are free. Purchase your tickets today at keelsandwheels.com.
Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6 or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Real Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. How am I supposed to follow that? From the Smoke and Mirrors Network, it's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, Rodney Rodriguez, Texas Circle Track Radio. Yes.
Rodney, you need to come here and listen to the stuff that goes on during the commercials.
Yeah, no, he
doesn't.
No, he doesn't. You just sit there. You'll have your chance. I can promise you that, my friend. I see you smiling. There's going to be,
That's a smirk.
Yeah, we see it right there.
Snicker.
I drove the all-new Toyota Sequoia. I'll give you my impression of it. I think you're going to like this. I did. We'll also have the cruise-in calendar and later the always popular Earth Xer, Buzz Smith. Conrad has This Week in Auto History, and I'll bring you up to date on the stories making automotive news headlines if I shut my mouth and actually get to it. Just ahead on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Howdy, along with Mike out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We need more, Jeff Seekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us. Let's just get right to it, shall we? Rodney, it's good to see you again, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well, gentlemen. Y'all, what the hell's going on over there today, man? You guys are like off the hook.
Well, you know, we didn't.
It's a beautiful day.
We didn't have anything to smoke, so we can't blame it on that. I've run out of the TX whiskey, so I'm not exactly sure. Something in the air.
Withdrawal symptoms.
Withdrawal symptoms. Yeah. So last week you'd have loved this. You should have gone with us. The Hot Rod Tour of Texas. Tons of fun.
Oh, it was a blast.
And I think that next year you need to circle your calendar for the last weekend of April and join us on the Hot Rod Tour. You'd love it, man.
You know, I think I am going to start taking, hot rod tours and those things up, because I can tell you this year for me, it's been somewhat of a disaster with weather.
I was just going to say, that's how I was going to start it. Have you done any racing?
I've done a couple of shows. I mean, I think I talked to you guys when I was in Alabama for one, for the Rattler. Mm-hmm. And then I did another, but it's like, it's so bad. What was it, last week? So last week I was supposed to have a race on Saturday. Well, that got rained out early in the week, and I'm like, okay. So I made plans. I called my friends in Waco who were racing on Friday, and I told them, hey, I'm unemployed. You know, I'd love to come on up. And they're like, yeah, sounds great. We'll see you Friday night. I get a call Friday. Hey, we're rained out too.
So it's you?
Is it? Yeah. Is it?
Yeah, that little cloud follows you around.
Yeah, for the betterment of short track racing, I'm keeping my ass at home forever.
Yeah, well, you don't need to do that because you're too talented. Need to be. You know, this is all going to change. It's in the process of doing it right now. 90-degree days already. Mm-hmm. Here we are, the 1st of May. I guess it's kind of typical for this time of the year. We had a little rain shower pass through last night, but the rest of the weekend is going to be hot and humid.
Oh, well, thank you for telling me that, because I was already messaging Owen Pittman this morning. I'm like, look, man, do I need to drive to Houston today? Because I'm seeing one thing here and something else over there. But if you guys are telling me it's going to be nice, I'm heading out as soon as we're done.
Okay, good. Well, yeah, come on over. I think that the weather's supposed to be good at least for the next hour or two. I don't want you to hate me too bad. Well, what's going on over there in Alabama and Gina's Gulf Coast Racing Series?
Well, it's only been one race. I mean, we had a super late model race that was actually on MAV TV this past Monday night. I got a message from a guy at one of the networks. He's like, "Hey, tune in to the to MAV TV 8:00 on Monday because you're like going to be on there." So we've had one race and that's it. Two others that were set to go in April, both washed out. Plan is to race next Saturday out there. But again, all of that, weather permitting, with coastal situations and joyous features that we get over there, it's just like being in Florida and Houston. You just never know when the rain's coming.
Well, I will tell you, and you know this as long as you've been in Texas, that once the rain stops, and it will, and I think it's in the process of doing that, it's going to be a long, dry, hot summer, and it's going to be racing pretty much every Saturday night. You know that.
Yeah. It'll be back to business as usual, but that's a good thing. There's other stuff. I know this weekend there's a lot of folks that are jazzed up about Formula One being in Miami, and with all of this happening, there's always NASCAR drama, and we're getting into the month of May, which is my favorite month. With Indianapolis, so there's plenty of other things.
I like it.
So let me ask you something. Speaking of NASCAR, I've been trying to watch, and dude, I look at the stands. There's nobody there. What's going on with NASCAR?
I really think that to me, it was the situation to where all race fans these days, they want to, and I think this is where Formula One has capitalized so well, is that they want Formula One, people want to get to know the drivers. People want to get to know the scenarios and all of this stuff. And that's what they have done exceptionally well. And, with Drive to Survive on Netflix, and you have the fans get to know these people, to where back in the old days with we race fans, hell, I don't want to know them. I just want to watch them race. Those Formula One guys have personalities. And I think some of the NASCAR guys, when you had the exodus all at one time with Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon, and it was all of the guys that we were accustomed to watching race in the 2000s. Boom, they're all gone. Dale Jr. And here we are to the new crop of racers that, they just don't have the pizzazz. And this race car, the Gen 7 race car is to save money and all of that. I can totally appreciate that. But with the downforce changes and all of that. I mean, they don't race well at times, and I think that's what's missing. I mean, tune in the final 20 laps, you get to see the best part of the race, and I think that's really what they're up against at this point. And there's lots of other things to do now, and if a race is boring, you're going to step away and do something else.
And that's what I see, too, to Don's point, where it's the bigger races, the Talladegas, the Daytonas, they do get the fans in there. The fan base does go into the infield, and they have great things to do. But it's the little tracks like the Phoenix, the miles, the short versions of that. They're not getting the draw.
Well, I think that to that point, Jeff, and to you too, Rodney, and I think that you'll agree that, they've kind of gone off the grid for so long. They're trying to bring it back. Dover, Wilmington, all of these stayed in the wool, real deep invested racetracks in the South, especially.
Yeah, the history of it, right.
That they'll draw people in, but places like Phoenix, I just don't understand. I went to Phoenix one time to see a race out there. I was not impressed. It's out in the middle of the desert is where it is, in Goodyear, Arizona.
Yeah, snakes and spiders.
And I'll tell you, I mean, I'm old enough to remember Phoenix the way it used to be. I mean, Phoenix back in the 80s and early 90s, that was, when they start reconfiguring things, that's where, to me, it's like, man, just leave things alone. I mean, even the old Atlanta, the old Atlanta was really good. And now, what they've done there is good. I mean, it kind of makes it a speedway type of race, but still, but I understand. I mean, I understand why I with NASCAR, I just can't figure out why it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Kind of one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sometimes leave things alone and just, the debate this week with Toyota, because, with the Jimmy Johnson group, that is affiliated there with Petty, co-owners, they're going to Toyota. And a lot of folks are still looking at Toyota as kind of the evil empire. I drive a Toyota. They're bulletproof. You can drive them into the ground. So I'm a Toyota fan. But, now we're into the Toyota debate again, the Toyota ruining NASCAR. And it's like, man, they've been around here for over 20 years. This is an old story. So there's just a lot going on.
Yeah, and to your point also, you talked about getting to know the personalities and things. My opinion of watching some of these in the debate on their stages, they kind of talk down to their fans, in my opinion.
They do. I mean, the old adage was, with Richard Petty and those guys, Richard Petty's not leaving till he's signed that final Richard Petty, iconic signature. And that's the commitments and the obligations for NASCAR drivers now are much heavier than they used to be. So I totally get all that, but that personality is missing. And Formula One has set the mark, because that racing is horrible. I mean, Red Bull has won every race this year in commanding fashion, but they're going to jam Miami this weekend, and people are going to be watching movie stars. I mean, I saw the list of A-listers that are going to be in Miami. It's ridiculous. And then, they've got all the momentum.
Well, you and I are going to go to Miami,
exactly.
So what are you talking about?
We're
on that list.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I'm going to pick you up, and we'll drive right on over and breeze through, and just go hang out there.
But wait, it's supposed to rain in Miami this weekend.
well, they can race. They can race. So
it's only raining because Rodney's going.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Have it, Don.
It's all my fault again. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. You've been rained out, man. I feel sorry for you. But all I can think of is, okay, so all of these racers that you're talking about that haven't raced, guess what they've been doing? Working on their car in the garage. Let me tell you something. Every dent and ding, every A-frame that they need to replace on the car, all of that work has been done. They're all chomping at the bit. And the first opportunity that they get, they are going to be there for you to actually announce, full fields, 9 million people out there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I'm expecting at HMP tonight, heading back out with the full throttle throwdown. I know they were set to have a race in early April, and same thing. I mean, they got rained out as well. And I mean, this is bitten the dirt tracks and everybody. But super excited to get back out to HMP and see what happens out there with those guys this evening. I've got a lot of buddies that'll be out there. It's always a really good time. They're doing an admirable job out there, Owen Pittman, to try to give folks a place to run those asphalt cars and try to grow it and keep the heartbeat going. I mean, that's what it's all about around here.
Well, I know that I have not been invited back to do anything out there. I can't even get any freebie tickets to go on a Saturday night.
Well, I come tonight. I mean, just come on tonight.
Dollar dogs, dollar beers.
Is
There you go.
it dollar dogs, dollar beers?
Hold on. Let me see here.
He
I don't know
doesn't
that
know.
part.
He doesn't know that part.
That's the nice part. I don't have to mess with that part anymore. So if they're doing that, I'll darn sure make sure people know about it.
Okay. And send me a couple of freebies for the next race over there. I've already got plans for tonight.
Okay. Yeah. Noted. Who's the lucky lady?
Well, I don't know. After
Well, he's
that-
got to make up with Leslie after doing an enema on her Jaguar.
Did an enema on her Jaguar. I don't know whether you heard that or not, but I'm sorry for everybody that heard that. But I
Not as sorry as you're going to be when you're from the look she gave
I
you.
just don't like that car. There's just something evil about it. I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
So, what is your? I have to ask you this. I don't know if I've asked you this before. I apologize because my brain doesn't work anytime anymore. But what is your favorite class of circle track car? What do you like the most? And don't tell me the Bombers.
No, I would like, and it's something that we're trying to do in Alabama, and I know they're trying to do it here in Texas. More of a street stock class, not the big bomber or whatever, but the later model, later 70s, early 80s Camaros, Novas, the rear spring cars, the metric Monte Carlo SS, from the 80s and so forth. Maybe throwing a Buick Regal in there, 108 to 112 inch wheelbase race car, stock components where everything with suspension, ball joints, all of that are supposed to be, hey, look, have an office mate, are supposed to be, stock in appearance and so forth, to limited engine modifications to where you put it in the hands of the driver. Because like I say, with a street stock car, they're not intended to do what we're trying to manipulate them to do. And that right there is just fascinating. That's what I grew up watching. So it takes me back to being a very tiny boy.
Well, and back in my day, we had what we called the Bronco class, and most of them were 55, 6, and 7 Chevys, Buicks, Pontiacs, and they had to have the stock V8 engine in them, but they could, cut the wheel wells out and do race car type things, and put roll bars in them and that sort of stuff. It was serious, but wasn't to the modified class.
It wasn't expensive.
What is the class in I think it's the first race of the evening where they can exchange pink slips or they can buy the car. What class is that?
So funny, Don, that you mentioned the bomber class, because I always say that's an eco stock.
Eco stock, that's the
what
one
they call it.
Yeah, I like that.
And
class.
that's called a tuner. That's called a lot of different things. But to me, to me, that's the modern day bomber. Because when I was growing up, the bombers were the long wheelbase cars, which were predominant back in those days. The big heavy lead sleds. Now you don't have those anymore. Now you've got these little four bangers that, whether it be a Saturn or whatever it is.
They're fun to watch. You get them up on 3 wheels around that. Oh, yeah, that's fun.
And that's kind of the consensus of what I'm talking about right there. You're not supposed to modify anything. I mean, you can't camber wheels out. I mean, you're not. It's like break the glass out, make it safe, put a safety seat and all that in there, and go out there and race. You can't do anything to make it work better. It's a stock tire, and that's a great class. But at the same time, I've been an advocate, and I know people get extremely irritated that I say this, is like, okay, that's great. Race that for a couple of years and move up. Let the other guy. If I'm sitting in the grandstands and I see a guy in that class that's been racing in that class for 15 years, you think I want to get out there and get whooped by him every week? But that's a great place to start. $2,500. $3,000 to get your car on the track. That's what we need to move back to, and it's a great entry level.
Well, I was just going to say that's the entry level for that, and then a couple of years in, then to me the next step up would be the Legends cars. I love those Legends cars.
And the thing about it was, I mean, it was a Legend and a dwarf car. Very late in my driving career,
Yep.
I drove dwarf cars for a couple of years, and I have to tell you, that was probably the raciest race car that I ever raced, and it took the most amount of skill that I ever had to use to drive that car. The twitchiness of it. I mean, that Kawasaki 1100, engine that was in there with the horsepower to wheelbase ratio, being a very small car. And what was cool about that car was it had all the racing dynamics to it, with weight jackers, and you could do all of this stuff to it. It was all out race car.
A late model midget.
Well,
That's exactly what it was.
You
And
still
there
had
was
to learn
so-
how to set it up. You had to learn how to set the car up to the track, and
That was
that
the thing.
translated into bigger cars as well.
And what happened with that car, we found a couple of little minor changes that were perfectly fine to do, and that car got fast just like that.
So,
And
so you mean
that's
you cheated and didn't get caught?
Well, that too.
that's what they thought. That's what they thought. It wasn't in the rule book, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if it wasn't in the rule book, then
It
it's
wasn't
fair
against
game.
the rules.
got to be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Good
tons of
stuff.
fun. Yeah, well, and another nice thing about those Legends cars, for the most part, they're fairly affordable. And if you wreck one, there's plenty of parts to be had for them. And I just love those cars.
Yeah, the next pit.
the next bit, yeah.
And kind of like with the beauty of a Legend car, and I equate it to like an IMCA stock car, a dirt stock car, which is kind of like the stock cars I'm talking about.
Yep.
You can race them anywhere across the country because it's a blanket set of rules that are written. It doesn't vary by track or by state. It's like a sanctioned set of rules, and it's like, okay, you're going to go to Mississippi, here's your rule book. You're going to go to California, here's your rule book. You go to Canada, here's your rule book. All of that is still the same tire, same everything. And I mean, if you have millions of dollars like Don, you can just race all over the world.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, he's spending them on the Jaguar.
No, I'm spinning them on the studio, the accoutrement in here.
Accoutrement.
Are you
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
you do that too.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Between this and the Jag, yeah.
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 Rodney, it's great to talk to you, my friend. Thank you so much. So tonight we can hear you do the play-by-play Houston Motorsports Park. What time of things get going out there?
That fires off. Hold on a second here, because I don't exactly know.
7 o'clock,
That's what
6
I'm
o'clock?
Intermission 7:20. So all the cars out on the racetrack, driver autographs, all that good stuff. 8 o'clock we'll fire off with feature racing and a very quick program. I mean, I would assume 10:20, 10:30 we'll be out of there.
Yeah.
Get you home, get you to church on Sunday.
Sounds great. Hey,
Beautiful.
man, thank you so much. It's great to see you. Great to talk to you. Hope to see you again soon, bud.
You bet, man. Take care.
You too. Rodney Rodriguez. He is our go-to guy when it comes to circle track racing. All right. Time now for the cruise-in calendar. Conrad, this is your time to shine, my friend.
My time to shine.
And by the way, let me just start off by saying that tomorrow is Chrome and Coffee
Yes.
at the Avalon, Diner.
Diner.
I have an obligation. I won't be there tomorrow, but
Starts at 8 in the morning.
no, 9 to noon.
9 to noon.
Yep.
And then tonight at 3 p.m. is Nifty 50s up in the Woodlands. The Clean Culture Houston, Texas cruise-in is also tonight, and that's going to be at the track and the go-kart track in New Caney. That starts at 3 p.m. 6 p.m. tonight, Conroe Cruisers Cruise-in at the Kroger's Marketplace at 341 South Loop, 336 in Conroe. Riverfest Classic Car Show in Port Neches is today at 10 a.m. to 3
Yeah,
p.m.
and let me just throw this in there. We had promised that we would be there, and due to circumstances beyond our control, that event didn't come off for us,
Right.
but it's still taking place
Right.
over there.
And then let's see. So tomorrow at 6:30 a.m., Woodland Cars and Coffee for a Cause. I know that's something Randy Weldon keeps kind of dear and near to his heart. And that's at Six Pines Drive in the Woodlands. It's an open cruise-in. They take donations and give that to local charities up there in Montgomery County. Coffee and Cars in Aggieland Outfitters up in College Station tomorrow at 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Also 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Classic Cars and Coffee at the Whitehall Cafe in Navasota. 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Pistons at the Park at Austin's Park and Pizza in Pflugerville.
All right.
Boy, try saying that name.
Try spelling it.
Yeah, it's insane.
PH.
Try getting there.
PF. And then Car
Flyers.
Culture shifted at Cinco Ranch Boulevard in Katy, and that is tomorrow at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then again, Coffee and Chrome tomorrow at Avalon Diner.
Yeah.
Which is always a good event.
Always.
You going?
Nope. Well, Don's not going to be there. Don's supposed to bring hero cards. Mike's got to make hero cards for Don. And speaking of hero, I see who's up next.
Well, I'm glad you do because I can't see him. Oh, my gosh. Now I can. Buzz, he's coming. So you just stay tuned, Buzz. We're going to get to you here in just a second.
He's our EV hero.
Time now for this hour's car review. Had a chance to drive the 2023 Toyota Sequoia, built in San Antonio, I might add. Available trim levels are the SR5, that's the base, goes up to the Limited, followed by the Platinum, then the TRD Pro, and top-of-the-line Capstone. The reviewed trim level is the Capstone Hybrid. What size, what class? Standard SUV, body on frame. This is the old school style of SUV, and there is a place and a need for those even today. How many seats? Up to 8. This is a completely redesigned Sequoia.
Beautiful.
All the way from the ground up.
Beautiful truck.
Yeah, do not compare this to the old outgoing Sequoia. It is not anything close to that. It is.
This is evolutionary off of the new Tundra.
Yes, it is. And that's why it's built in San Antonio, because that's where they built the Tundra. A completely redesigned, massive grille, matches the heft of this beast. Also has very attractive lighting. Good-looking rear hatch and tail lights with a sunshade over the glass. Sharp-looking body side sculpting. Very cool. 22-inch dark chrome alloy wheels on the one that I drove. And I will tell you that they, based on the trim level, that will get you the up top of the line 22 inches on the Capstone, which I had. What I liked about it, the best-looking design among competitors.
Well,
Did I say that?
I like the black and white interior. I actually thought that was kind of cool, a little bold to say, but kind of cool.
Well, like I said, best-looking design among its competitors.
Wow.
It says a lot. And I would throw this in there with the Cadillac. Just saying.
Oh, now you've made an enemy with Jeff.
Man.
What could use improvement?
Fighting words.
Nothing. Interior highlights. All new 14-inch touchscreen built into the dash that is muy magnifico.
You notice my screen's bigger than your screen is all the rage. now,
Apparently,
right?
yeah. Premium leather upholstery with wood trim, real wood trim, and the head-up display. Beautiful dash design with big convertible center console. Big sunroof panel with a shade. Cargo and trunk room, well, tiny behind the third row. It's small back there, but so is the Tahoe. I think the Tahoe has become, I haven't looked at sales figures, but I think the Tahoe has been really kind of become the standard as opposed to the Suburban, because the Tahoe will actually, if you push it, will fit in the garage where the Suburban won't,
No,
not so
it
much. What I liked about it, the rear seat AC controls and cell phone connections. This is top of the line premium SUV body on frame. What could use improvement? I just put a big question mark there. I don't know. Now, here's the interesting part to this. A 3.4 liter V6 hybrid with a combined horsepower rating of 437 horsepower and 538 pound-feet of torque. If this can't get you down the road, nothing can. Transmission, 10-speed automatic. Tow rating, 9,280 pounds with a payload of 1,485. Now, you're going to say, let me think. Last version of the Toyota Sequoia got, 12 miles per gallon?
Going downhill with a stiff tailwind.
This one is rated at 19 in the city, 22 on the highway for a combined of 20. I got 18.2.
Not bad for a full-size
Over
truck.
377 miles. What I liked about it, plenty of smooth and responsive power. No hesitation, no hybrid lag, no turbo lag, none of that stuff. It's smooth. They did it right on this one. What I liked about it, the rear air suspension makes for a very comfortable ride. What could use improvement? Maybe front air would be good as well. I'll bet you that's in the
You
works.
mean front air suspension?
Yes. Pricing. Base trim price, $78,300. Prices tested, $80,906.
But that's the capstone top of the line.
Top of the line. Base model price, $58,365. Competitors. Now remember, base model price, $58,365, and that's what I compare the others to. Chevy Tahoe, $59,700. Ford Expedition, $58,042. And the Jeep Wagoneer, $58,995. So it's right in there.
They're all similarly sized vehicles as well.
This one's been redone very nicely, and I'm with that white pearlescent paint.
Dude.
I don't think the others stand up. That's my opinion.
Well, and I agree with you. And you and I have both driven all the other ones. And that's not a put down of the other ones. It does not forget brand loyalty. That has a huge factor in sales. And I get that, totally understand it, and respect it.
We went to dinner in it. Don took us to dinner last weekend when he had the vehicle. Very nice vehicle. Rides really nice. Very, very plush. I am not a fan of that big grill. I do not like that grill. That turns me off on that.
Well, I hear where you're coming from, but I will tell you that is the thing, and they're all going with it, like it or not.
You won't, yeah.
And it's just, that's the way that it is today. I have a feeling that all that's going to go back to a smaller grill because ultimately there will be no grill or no need for a grill.
They're all going EV.
Yeah,
and
speaking
that's
of grills,
set up to the,
he's jumping up and down.
Calm down, Buzz.
Oh, shut up.
Whoa. Calm down.
Buzz, you need to get a grill.
Yeah, get you a grill. That's right.
Yeah.
Do that. Hey, the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available 24/7 through the iHeartRadio app. Just look for In-Wheel Time Car Talk. We also video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com, and podcasts are available at your fingertips on over a dozen of the most popular podcast outlets out there. The In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show continues right after this quick break.
Are you a car enthusiast? Come experience the 27th annual Keels and Wheels Classic Car and Boat Show. Join us Saturday, May 6th and Sunday, May 7th at the Lakewood Yacht Club in Seabrook. This fun family event features vintage and contemporary race cars from Le Mans, Indy, Formula One, NASCAR, and much more. See classic and vintage boats of all types, not to mention American and European pre- and post-war classics. Pre-sale tickets are $30. Students are just $15. Children 12 and under are free. Purchase your tickets today at keelsandwheels.com.
Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In Real Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6 or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Real Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. It's the In Real Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, Buzz Smith and the Earth X event.
Oh.
What?
Holy.
And oh yeah, some EV stuff too. I just had to throw that in there. Conrad has This Week in Auto History, and we'll get you caught up on the stories making car news this week. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars. King Conrad DeLong, we always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. So glad that you could join us today.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes, please.
With the King, Conrad, we haven't had a coronation. The King Charles III
That's right.
has a coronation. We need a coronation for him.
Bing,
bang, boom.
That's
You need
your
a robe, and you need a scepter and a staff and all that.
A scepter. What
Scepter.
exactly is the purpose of a scepter?
It's to whack somebody with it.
Yeah.
So if you need to whack,
So in other words, I can reach over here, from here, over there.
Well,
After you shut off my mic.
the EVs
Which
have
is
a
your
hook.
way of whacking
We
us.
can get him an EV hook.
That's right.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that
yeah,
big a
yeah.
scepter.
Well, good luck. All right.
That was a lead in for Buzz.
I know. And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. EV himself, Buzz Electric Smith.
Saving the world one car at a time.
1 volt at a time.
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing this
Well,
morning?
we're doing better. Let me just put it that way. It's been
Although after that Lupe Tortilla commercial, now all I can think about is fajitas and margaritas.
There you go.
well, yeah. Well, you missed your opportunity last night, Cinco de Mayo. You know.
Yeah, I did not miss my opportunity.
that's right, because it's a state law in Texas that come Margarita Day, you have to go drink a margarita.
What is your go-to place up there in Dallas?
For Mexican food, there's a little place near my house that I really like called Pescuaro's Cafe. They just got their liquor license, so that's things you're looking at.
Oh.
Okay.
Didn't know they had good Mexican food in Dallas.
Yeah, we didn't either. But we know that we've got it here.
Yeah.
And you know we've got it here because you've had the pleasure of having Tex-Mex down here in Houston, Texas. We know how to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, one of my favorite places is down in Houston.
Very good.
And
Buzz,
Buzz went out Thursday night. May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
No doubt, yeah. Electric.
We
I
went
get
to the
it.
cantina there in the.
Yeah. So we'll talk about EVs, but I want to talk about EarthX. What in the world is that?
EarthX is a big celebration in the Dallas-Fort Worth area at Fair Park, and it comes out the weekend of Earth Day every year, and they're focused on sustainability. So there'll be people out there hawking soybean clothing or something, who knows what. They've finally gotten focused on electric vehicles, and this year a group called Charge Across Town sponsored a performance test drive area. And normally I don't really like to associate EVs with sustainability because there's such a knee-jerk reaction against things like, the potential, is there really climate change or not? And I don't want to get involved in that argument. I want to focus on how much fun the cars are. But they lured me in with the performance test drive. So I worked the fair all 3 days, and it was a blast. The very first day was student day. So it was a bunch of, elementary and junior high school kids walking around, and there was nobody on that performance test drive track. And you could drive the Lucid Air, 800 horsepower, by the way, the Nissan Ariya, which just came out, the Volvo C40 and XC40, which, by the way, now gets a $2,500 Costco discount if you're a member of Costco, the Volkswagen ID4 and the Polestar 2. And they also had a bunch of vehicles on display. But on that student day, I thought, well, I've never driven the Ariya, the Lucid Air, or the Volvo, so I'll go test drive those. And when we got out there, sure enough, they had an acceleration straight lane. They had some S-curves. And I won't say which brand it was, but one guy said, hey, there's nobody here. You want to do some donuts? So I'm doing donuts out in this parking lot in EV. It was a hoot.
And and I guess that the next thing is that you got in behind you got in the passenger seat with a junior hire at the wheel of one of the
12-year-old running him around the track.
running around the track. Did they let any of the kids drive any of that?
21.
Oh, you had. That's no fun. We need to get in there. Here's how to drive a car. Here's how to drive an electric car.
Just like you do on your computer at home.
Like
same way.
like you learned to drive when you were 14, 15 years old. Man, I was all into that.
Like a video game.
Kind of. Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm just dreaming.
So here we are trying to save the earth, and Buzz is out there smoking it up with tire
Doing
smoke.
donuts.
Yeah, right, Buzz.
The 6-speed transmission, shifter. all that.
Yeah, that doesn't.
You know me,
that doesn't
I'm
apply.
about the performance.
Well,
They also had a display. It was really cool. They had the Hyundai Ioniq 5, Kia EV6, two of my favorites. They have a Chevy Bolt EUV, which they've announced is being discontinued, and the Nissan Leaf, which has been announced. Finally, it's coming to an end. And they really had some cool industrial EVs there, UPS last mile delivery vehicles, as well as large delivery trucks. They had
that cartoon-looking delivery thing for USPS.
I did not see that one yet. I hate the long snout on it, but I mean, for stop and go, mailbox to mailbox, EVs are the way to go. Those things are going to be a huge savings.
Yeah, I heard the Chevy Bolt's going to have a fire sale.
Oh,
5 of those caught fire at a 75,000. I mean, give me a break, guys.
Conrad had to go a long ways to get that joke,
but the rest
he had to share it.
The rest of them were recalled.
The rest of them were recalled. Well, I will say this.
All of them were recalled, and GM really did the right thing. They replaced the battery pack in every vehicle because it was a battery manufacturing error by LG Chem. And they started the battery warranty all over again at zero. So GM did the right thing. I hope we'll see that in all EV manufacturers going forward to allay any fears about battery packs. And in fact, battery chemistry is changing. I like to tell people that we're along the path of battery development like maybe gasoline car development was in 1920. So we're just scratching the surface at what can happen. And Ford has announced that the the Mach-E is going to have the standard range version is going to have a lithium iron phosphate battery, which is a new type of battery chemistry, which will give more range, more power, faster charging. And LFPs are already being rolled out in China. I think we're going to see a lot of manufacturers going to that.
Interesting.
But do you think this dependence on China for that technology kind of exposes the EV industry to issues?
It probably would have if we didn't have the Inflation Reduction Act. We are seeing so many battery plants being developed in the United States. Chemistry research is going on here. The CHIPS Act has a lot more semiconductor factories under construction in the United States. So I think we finally realized that the idea of having these products shipped from halfway around the world from somebody that really doesn't seem to like us very much is probably not a good idea. So I'm actually thinking that we're going to see huge investment here in the United States, and we're gonna shorten those supply chains and go back to let's get stuff that's made in America.
Oh, that'd be great.
Well, based on what we've learned in Russia, with manufacturers pulling out of there, getting rid of their factories in Russia, and
just leaving them,
and a few of them in China, I would imagine that we're going to bring it back home. I think in the very near future. And I too have been reading about all of these battery manufacturing plants that are either in the process of being built, or at least they've got blueprints and they've got places to build them now, and with incentives. So I think that's going to be. I also heard that, as you mentioned, the battery technology, they're trying to get away from lithium and rare metals in these batteries, and they're going a different route because they know that the supply is limited. So I think that's a point to be made too.
Well, actually, lithium is not that rare. It's one of the most common elements out there, and we've found huge deposits here in the United States that we haven't started to exploit yet. So I think we're going to see a lot more mining. Tesla is going to do lithium refining. Like in the case of this Ford battery, it's still lithium iron phosphate. So lithium, I think, will be a standard for us for a while, but we're going to see them get into changing chemistries and changing anode chemistries, which will give us longer battery life. And like I said before, much more energy density. So we get more power per pound of batteries that we're adding to the car. Now, there's a bunch of Texas news, by the way, that I wanted to bring to you guys' attention.
Well, I noticed the big Texas flag behind you, so I knew that there was that had to be a purpose behind it.
It's raining there, too.
Yeah, and we're going to have some severe rain up here today. But I'm a board member and the director of dealer outreach with a nonprofit in Austin called the Texas Electric Transportation Resources Alliance. We work with the legislature on EV policy, so taxation policy, infrastructure rollout, incentives, things like that. And there are bills before the Texas House and Senate right now. They're going to really do some interesting things. One of them I'm really excited about is a 3-year pilot program to figure out how are we going to sell electricity from our home solar panels, our home battery packs, and our EVs battery packs back to the grid when it's under stress. So for those of you who don't know this, you're probably paying between 10 and 15 cents per kilowatt hour for electricity at your home. When the grid is under stress, when demand has almost reached all the supply we can give out there, the state has a price limit of $9 a kilowatt hour, 90 times what most of you are paying at home. Now, what if we can sell our energy back, buy it when it's cheap, store it in our batteries of our cars, our battery backup for solar energy, and when the grid is under stress and they want to pay a lot of money for electricity, we sell it back to them. So that's something that it's called energy arbitrage, and I think it's something that EVs and solar energy storage are bringing about. They're also trying to come out with a rule that will make all chargers have all plugs so that they become universal. One problem with that is, with the end of the Leaf, that's the last car that's going to use CHAdeMO plugs for charging. So we don't really need CHAdeMO. Maybe somebody that's got a Nissan Leaf can buy a CHAdeMO adapter to these other chargers, but I don't think we need to have the manufacturers of these chargers go through the cost of adding this charger port that's not going to be used very much.
Buzz,
and
you talked about the grid selling back to the energy back onto the grid. There was ERCOT announced this week that could be like a 1% or less than a 1% chance of failure of the grid because of the heat that they're anticipating for this summer, being no wind for the windmills to generate that power, but a lot of heat from the sun for the solars. But they're concerned that it's going to be another brownout or blackout coming in this summer.
I think there is. I think that when you get down to it, we still don't require that the energy generation companies maintain their plants properly. We have, these rules out there that we don't enforce. And I think until the politicians decide that they need to, get after these industries and put regulations on them. Now, we're obviously a red state and we don't like government regulating business. But in this case, we've seen people die from the failure of these regulations being enforced. And it's time that we did something about that, in my opinion.
And nobody was ever held accountable for it.
No,
Exactly.
And part of the problem is...
The people whose heads rolled weren't the people that generate the electricity whose plants went down. It was
made the
ERCOT
decisions,
officials.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Morris?
I was going to say, like down here in East Texas, one of the energy suppliers, the plant's actually over in Louisiana. And it doesn't necessarily fall under the view of the Public Utility Commission.
Yeah.
So, and that's a problem.
Well, the other problem is that we generate our own electricity and it all stays here and we're not interconnected. We can't ferry it in, share with the rest of the country, which is, I think, total garbage. Why not? Are we not part of the other 49 states or what?
We're the Republic of Texas.
We are Texas.
Well, I appreciate that to a point, but when it comes to life and death and being able to run our air conditioners when we run it.
We sell them our gasoline. That should be enough.
Okay. Well, why don't you go over? Why don't you go over to the EV side with him?
Big news. This year, probably the state legislature is going to pass an additional registration fee for EVs. Now, the justification behind this is that EV drivers don't pay gasoline taxes, which is where the revenue comes for repairing the roads.
Which they don't do anyhow, but that's okay.
Okay.
Well, yeah. They don't seem to repair them. I mean, I remember when I was a kid growing up, and when my parents would cross the border, say from Texas into Louisiana or into Oklahoma, the highways, which were so smooth and wonderful in Texas, just went to crap when you went into these other states. Now we're all pretty much the same.
Yeah, Louisiana's still kind of bad.
Yeah. One thing you should know on this, the registration fee looks like they've zeroed in on $200 per year.
That's what I heard too,
and, Texetra had taken a crew cab pickup and showed that it generates only $89 a year in gasoline taxes for road repairs. Now, we all want safe roads. EV drivers want safe roads just like everybody else. We want to pay our fair share, but we don't want to get gouged. So if they come in with a registration fee of $200 above your normal registration of about $75, then we feel like we're getting gouged. Well, the state came back and said, the federal government matches that $89. So we still think the 200 is a little high, but it's something that Texetra and EV drivers can probably live with. We were trying to get it down around 150, but we couldn't get it that low. On the other side, there were competing bills that had it at $300 a year, and there was one that had an extra $200 or $1,200 fee when you purchase the vehicle. Now, if you then totaled that vehicle in the first year, you've paid those EV road taxes for years into the future that you never actually got any payback from. So it's we really thought that was a bad idea, but it looks like the legislature has coalesced around the $200 fee, and we think that's what it's going to be. Now, if you are an EV driver or a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle or PHEV EV driver, you can join Texetra for free, and they will keep you up to date with what's going on with the legislature, and we will send out legislative alerts if they're trying to get in your pocket, and we need you to know about it.
What is the address, though, Buzz? What's the address?
Texetra's website is txetra.org. And right there, you can click on join, and we'll send you a newsletter once a week so you know what's going on in Texas.
Is this like your website?
Pardon me?
Is this your website?
No, it's the Texetra nonprofit's website.
I got you. Okay. Well, I don't.
In your area, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't understand why we are continuing to tax on a per gallon basis anyway. Why don't we tax on the miles that you put on your vehicle?
Interesting that you should bring that up, Don, because the legislature is thinking about a pilot project for that as well. And so that's called vehicle miles driven. The one political side of our world hates the idea of the government knowing how many miles a year you're driving. Guess what, guys? They already know that, and they track your cell phone so they know how much you're doing and where you are all the time anyway.
Right.
We just saw from that guy who committed murder and was fleeing from the government, they found him by cameras that can read license plates. So if your car's on the road, the state knows where it is and what it's doing. So you're exactly right. We should be looking at the weight of the vehicle and how many miles it drives a year, because that directly impacts the damage that each of those vehicles causes to the road. A 9,000-pound Hummer EV should not pay the same registration fee that I'm going to pay on the EV that I own.
I agree. It's time for change.
Yeah.
Well, Buzz?
Now, in your neighborhood, one last thing. Evolve Houston is a really cool group in your area. They do not lobby the legislature at all. In fact, it's against their founding documents to do that. But they're out there really promoting electric vehicles in Houston. They're a consortium of Shell and the mayor's office, the University of Houston, electric utilities that have all joined together to make Houston not the oil capital of the world, but the energy capital, and especially the renewable energy capital of the world. Well, they're doing campus or corporate campus ride and drive events, and nothing gets people to open their eyes to EVs quite like driving one. So if you are at a big corporate area and they announce one day that they're doing ride and drive events at lunchtime, get down there and try it. If you've never driven an EV before, it'll be a real eye opener. And if they have a Lucid Air there, absolutely drive that one.
Well, Buzz, it's always great to talk to you. Run out of time, but thank you so much for joining us, my friend. A wealth of information, and we'll rib you again real soon.
I hope so. Have a good one, guys.
You do the same. We
Thanks,
appreciate you. All right. Thank you very much, Buzz Smith. This week in auto history, Conrad, this is all you, bud.
Well, the first true compact car in the United States was introduced as a Crosley. Powell Crosley, an American industrialist, produced America's first compact car. Initially, it was only offered as a two-door convertible that weighed about 450 kilograms. It's about 1,000 pounds. Don,
Thank you very much, because I don't know.
Carry the one.
And it sold for about $250. It was powered by a 580cc two-cylinder.
What year?
1939.
1,000 pounds.
Okay.
And about the time you were born.
Yeah, thank
I was
you.
going to say, he's trying to relate
boy.
A 580cc, basically a motorcycle engine, two-cylinder air-cooled engine. It was mated with a 3-speed gearbox. It had an 80-inch wheelbase. I've never really seen one of these in person.
Actually, in 1939, that'd be way ahead of its time. It looks kind of modern.
Yeah, very much. Kind of reminds me a little bit like a bug-eyed Sprite.
Exactly.
But ultra lightweight, very low powered, but that was kind of the original compact car. And later on, many more body styles were released. There was a four-passenger convertible, station wagon, and a panel truck and a pickup truck, all off of this Crosley chassis. And then in 1948, Land Rover unveiled for the first time at the Amsterdam Motor Show. The Land Rover was developed as a result when Maurice Wilkes, a Rover engineer, was unable to produce parts for his constantly breaking down World War II American Jeep while he worked on his farm in Wales, and he developed the Land Rover brand.
It looks like Droopy. Remember the cartoon series with the dog Droopy had the big jowls on it?
I didn't know you could farm whales. I thought they lived in the ocean.
All right, continue on.
And then in 1954, three-time world champion, 94.
My God, did you read this before you did it?
No. In 1994, three-time world Formula One champion Ayrton Senna passed away in an accident at Imola, which was a track in Italy. Well, they're out of sequence again. The same race during practice, Roland Ratzenberger was also killed in another accident in the same. They are out of sequence.
This is all on you, Conrad. It's the way that you send them to
I'm
us.
going to send them to everybody in the future.
Oh,
so
no,
you
I don't want to
that
see
they
them.
are
No,
sent
I want to
in
be
sequence.
surprised.
So again, and this being the anniversary of the of Senna's passing, they're going to have some special special series of stuff at the Miami Grand Prix.
What is this?
And
The Pontiac.
in 2009, this week, struggling American giant General Motors says it planned to discontinue production of the Pontiac brand that was more than 80 years old. Pontiac's origins dated back to the Oakland Motor Company from 1907, built in Pontiac, Michigan. Edward Murphy was a manufacturer of horse-drawn carriages who started the Oakland brand. Oakland became part of General Motors in 1909 and was formed the previous year. And the first Pontiac model sold as a model of Oakland debuted in the 20s, and the car featured a six-cylinder engine, and it proved so popular that the Oakland name was eventually dropped, and Pontiac became its own division of General Motors in the early 30s. And then in 2004, this week, the last Oldsmobile came off the assembly line, the 2004 Oldsmobile Alero, and to this day I kick myself because I didn't go. I was in Detroit that week, and a bunch of guys did go over to the Lansing assembly plant to say goodbye to the last Oldsmobile, and I think I stayed and probably drank something.
Because you were pissed.
Or might have gone over to Windsor.
You were mad.
The Oldsmobile was 106 years old when General Motors ended the brand. Oldsmobile is America's oldest manufacturer. Factory workers at the plant in Lansing signed the last car, and that Alero sedan was given to the R.E. Olds Transportation Museum, where it's still on display today.
There's a city in Detroit area named Oakland.
Yeah, it's north of Detroit.
Okay, are you done?
Yep.
Good. I'm glad. Because none of it worked. Just had to say that.
I know.
All right. BMW is the latest car maker to upgrade its recall of vehicles with Takata airbags, telling owners to park the 90,000 affected sedans and crossovers in America until the defective equipment can be replaced. Blah, blah, blah. BMW said model ranges with driver's airbags from Takata are affected. There's too many to list here. Go to safercar.gov, type in your VIN number, and you can find out that yours is.
If your car has an airbag, high probability it's been recalled.
Stellantis is recalling about 2,500 of its hot-selling 22 to 23 Jeep Wrangler plug-in hybrids and more than 165,000 19 to 21 Ram ProMasters in the U.S. for potential battery and transmission issues. Wranglers have an incorrect fuse fastener in the high-voltage battery. They could cause it to fail. And warning signs may include a malfunctioning indicator lamp, changes in drivability, and unusual noise, or it just quits altogether. Also, 220 Marpo. I'm not even going to read that. 220 of them. Ford Bronco 2023. and then the Ranger as well. Improperly tightened wheel lug nuts. There's a joke in that somewhere. Brake switch light malfunction on the Subaru Impreza for 2023. It's being recalled as well. Again, safercar.gov. Type in your VIN number and it'll tell you whether the repair has been made or if it's been recalled. Hertz
But
Global.
check it three times a year at least.
At least. Hertz Global on Thursday reported that its overall revenue rose 13% to $2.05 billion for the quarter ended March 31st. Demand for rentals remains strong as more companies mandate work from office and people resume their travel plans after a long pandemic-induced hiatus. Demand for Hertz's rental services was also helped by the company's EV fleet as consumers looking to purchase a car with an alternate powertrain opted to rent those vehicles before deciding to purchase them. Hertz, which offers Teslas for hire, has been beefing up its EV fleet over the past few years, however, has struggled with costlier maintenance and labor charges to keep its fleet on the road.
Yeah, and Hertz almost went out of business in 2020 because of the pandemic.
Almost all of them did.
Yep.
And a technical project manager at Continental has admitted to involvement in the Volkswagen diesel scandal and incriminated other defendants, according to German prosecutors. They were telling Reuters. The unidentified individual admitted to having knowledge of and involvement in the illegal use of so-called defeat devices in VW diesel vehicles. Prosecutor's office said that adding a person would be treated with leniency during sentencing as a result of the statements.
Okay.
Snitches get stitches.
There you go.
That's it. What a mess. That still is ongoing, and it's hard for me to believe. They're just going to ring it till there's nothing left. Okay, fine. Hey, time now for a quick break. That's it for this segment of the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show on iHeartRadio. Back after this quick break.
Are you a car enthusiast? Come experience the 27th annual Keels and Wheels Classic Car and Boat Show. Join us Saturday, May 6th and Sunday, May 7th at the Lakewood Yacht Club in Seabrook. This fun family event features vintage and contemporary race cars from Le Mans, Indy, Formula One, NASCAR, and much more. See classic and vintage boats of all types, not to mention American and European pre- and post-war classics. Pre-sale tickets are $30. Students are just $15. Children 12 and under are free. Purchase your tickets today at keelsandwheels.com.
Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise-in date right here on In-Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6 or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. Live from Studio A and inside the Sugar Shack Control Center, it's the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, we talk with Jonathan and Curtis about the High School Racing Association. Yes, I said it correctly, the High School Racing Association. I'm in. Cool. How about you?
Yep.
I raced in high school, but it wasn't an association.
Wasn't sanctioned.
No. Jeff has a segment on GM's Tow Dolly. It has nothing to do with Dolly Parton, unfortunately. Well, there may be some similarities,
I
but we
didn't
won't go
think
there.
of that at all.
And we'll also have an update. You did too. We'll also have an update from the Houston Automobile Dealers Association. What's going on here with all the car dealers? Conrad has the racing calendar and the car clinic. We also have the stories making auto news headlines this week. We're going to cram it all in on this edition of the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. You know, I just had this vision right now of a cockroach running across the desk here.
What?
I had that vision that it didn't happen. Maybe it'll happen this hour. I'm not exactly sure.
Flashbacks. Wow.
Yeah.
70s.
From the 70s, yeah. Actually, from the 60s in the apartment that we lived in. It's like, ooh.
You named your cockroach Max?
I did not.
He's kept it all these years, too.
It's in a jar.
Escaped.
It escaped. All right.
He found it in the bottom of a Frito-Lay bag.
Lord.
Next to his
Jonathan
enema pipe.
Eckelberg and Curtis Hellickson with the High School Racing Association. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from Elroy, Wisconsin.
All right.
Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you for being with us this morning. And you are who?
I am Jonathan. I'm the director of the High School Racing Association.
Jonathan Eckelberg. So you are the man. And we have with us Curtis, and he's in the red. Pardon me?
I said hi.
Hi. It's good to see you guys. How's the weather up in Wisconsin this morning? Wisconsin.
It's a little gloomy today, but we've actually had sunshine and warm weather this week, so it's a lot better than the snow we've had for far too long.
Yeah, that's what I understand. How's the racing up in Wisconsin these days?
It's great. We're getting ready for the 2023 race season, and as you mentioned, we're the High School Racing Association. Curtis is one of the racers, the high school racers in that division, and it is an all high school division at 6 racetracks in Wisconsin and 2 in Illinois going into this season.
Oh
and
my
we're
gosh,
looking to keep
you
growing
guys have got this thing going already. 6 tracks and even tracks in Illinois. Well, tell us, step us through this. How does it work? Because I'm all in. Man, if I had have known this in high school, I'd have been in.
You wouldn't have been in home ec.
I wouldn't have been in home ec. Let me put it that way. That's for sure. So, how does it work? So, I mean, can I sign up for the class or what?
Yeah, so right now we kind of leave it up to the high schools on how involved or not involved they want to be. Some high schools have a really well-established automotive program, and their instructors want to be involved, and their schools want to be involved. We have the very first high school in the country to make auto racing a letterable sport, and that's Melrose Mindoro High School up near the La Crosse area in Wisconsin. And trying to get more schools on board to do that as well. So but outside of that, students the students own their cars. They put together the car, find a 2006 or older American-made 6-cylinder car, and they put together their cars, hit the track. That we require, at least a 2-point roll cage and door plate, window net, of course, some safety enhancements. But it's pretty much stock 6-cylinder American-made sedans, and then they're out on 3/8 mile tracks or smaller.
3/8 or smaller,
And these are all asphalt tracks?
They have been the last couple of years, but we actually have our first dirt tracks this season. So Beaver Dam and Sycamore Speedway and Macon Speedways, all some dirt options down in Wisconsin and Illinois. So they'll be hitting the dirt for the first time this season too.
Now, so, Curtis, what kind of car do you have?
2006 Chevy Malibu.
Okay.
Yeah, very nice. Now, are you allowed to make any changes? Are you able to hop up the engine, maybe turn the air cleaner lid upside down on it or something like that?
The rules keep the cars relatively stock. There's not a lot of changes that can be made outside of gutting the interior and putting in the roll cage. But it's even not for racing tires. So there are street tires that are being used, and a couple-year-old tires are required. So it's pretty much stock to keep the costs low and keep kind of a level playing field as much as we can across all of the high school racers.
And how do the kids get their cars to the racetrack? Is it up to them and their parents?
It is. Yep. Yep. So we're, as we get more schools involved, hopefully that'll get a little bit easier for those students that maybe don't have a way to get a car to the track. But right now, yep, it's up to the students, and we, connect them to resources if they need them. If there's someone new coming into the sport and needs help getting a car to a track, or finding a car, or putting in a roll cage, or whatever that might be, we've been trying to connect them to those resources to get new people into the sport too.
So if I have the gas station down the street up there, and Curtis says, hey, Don's Wisco 99 wants to be the sponsor over there, can I sponsor a car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, where does Don send the check?
Yeah, well, don't get too excited about that, because, I could help defer some of the costs.
Yeah, they're allowed to have sponsors, so it's a non-monetary paid division to keep the students as amateur athletes if they do other sports. But they're allowed sponsors if they want to go out and get some sponsors to help offset some of those costs. And then we on the HSRA side try to offset some of those costs as best we can too. So it, for example, it costs $25 for an HSRA membership that gets the racer into all of the HSRA tracks all season long. So they pay one pit pass fee, and then they're into all of those events all season. And there's trophies for the race winners, and Quick Trip is a big gas station up in the Wisconsin area, and they're supporting the students with gift cards, and local restaurants supporting the students with meal vouchers when they're racing. So we're trying to find other opportunities for some benefits and to help offset the costs for those students, because we know there's a cost involved.
Curtis, are you having to drag your parents along with you on these events?
Sometimes, not all the time.
Not all the time. And how old are you, Curtis?
16.
16. Oh my gosh, man! If I'm 16, I am so into this. And so, when are the races? Are they Saturday nights?
It depends on the track. We have tracks that race Friday nights. There's tracks that race Saturday, even Sunday and Tuesday. So and there's up to 6 HSRA race events per track per season. And there's some weekends that there's HSRA racing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday. So,
wow.
If they really want to travel, they can.
So what you're telling me is that I can skip school on Tuesday
That's what
and
I'm
Fridays.
Well, it's the summer, so school's out.
So
Go to the track.
how was your popularity in school? You got all the fans in the school.
And he's got all the chicks,
all the girls. There you go.
Signing autographs
There you
and
go.
things like that. Curtis?
Hero cards, as Conrad would say.
Curtis, do you have any hero cards?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So Curtis, you're 16. When did you start? I mean, how young can you be, I guess is where I'm headed.
I started when I was 15, so freshman year when you're in high school, you can start.
Okay.
Is that a requirement in the school or part of the racing program?
Yeah.
Yep, and you just have to be between 14 and 19 years old, and going into high school, a current high school student, and you're still eligible the summer after you graduate. So you don't have to hold a valid driver's license, just have to be of high school age to race the high school division. And even if your school doesn't want to be involved, they want to stay hands off right now, then you're still able to race, and we give school points as well as individual race points. So if there's like Curtis goes to a school where there's a handful of racers, and so all of their points go together to bring.
Now, is this recognized by the high school sports associations as well?
It's not. We've started working a lot more with organizations like the Wisconsin or WIAA here in Wisconsin, connecting with athletic directors around the state and some of those athletic associations. So we're kind of our own thing right now, and working with the racetracks directly, but certainly growing quickly in popularity, and we've doubled the amount of racetracks in 2023 compared to 2022, gone into Illinois. So it's not just in Wisconsin this season. And I'm talking to tracks and schools in probably 8 different states that have some interest, and we're starting to to really
lot.
get some traction around the country.
Are you familiar with Drum Corps International?
Vaguely.
Vaguely. Okay. So it's an organization where they put together, it's kind of like a club marching band to an elite level.
Oh, yeah.
So and they travel all over the United States, mainly in the summer, and put on these performances. Matter of fact, they come to Houston. And I'm thinking, okay, so this is the car division of DCI, and all over the United States, traveling group of high school kids going to different racetracks.
Like a circus.
Kind of like that. How fun would that be to go to your local racetrack on a Saturday night? Hey, we're bringing the High School Racing Association here this weekend.
Come on out.
Come on out. And it's free admission to all the high school kids in town to come out. What a great thing. I mean, is this your idea?
It was HSRA was started in 2020 between La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway and Madison International Speedway, both in Wisconsin. Those track promoters started it as a way to get younger talent into the sport and kind of just managed it themselves the first couple of years. And then I came on as the director for the 2022 race season, added another track, and grew the amount of racers that were involved. Got a lot more sponsors and organizations involved, and now this going into 2023, it's my second season as director. We've doubled the amount of racetracks, added dirt, added another state, and really looking forward to the growth.
Wow! And if 14 years old,
yeah,
I still had training wheels on my bike at 14.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Yeah, and a helmet.
He still does on his Cadillac today.
Let's go back to the car for a minute. Is there a limited amount of money that you can put into the car?
There's not. There's some rules that can be found at highschoolracing.org. That's our website. The rules are there. As I mentioned, it's pretty much stock. There's not a lot of changes you can make outside of gutting the interior of the car and adding that roll cage. But the dash pretty much stays intact unless you're putting in a full roll cage. There's a door plate on the outside of the door, but it's street tires. There's no intentional camber. There's it's pretty much a car off the street with the interior gutted.
Well, that brings up an interesting question. So like Curtis is 16, so I'm assuming he can get a driver's license. So if he had to, he could tow his own car to the track, right? So what happens if he doesn't have a tow vehicle? Could he drive his 2006 stock 6-cylinder Malibu to the track and then race it? If it's got all the roll bar and everything in it?
I suppose.
What do you think, Curtis?
I guess I'm not going to provide legal advice.
Curtis, how much? First of all, where did you find your race car?
And we found it. My dad found it at a junkyard in Shaw's and Warren's.
Okay, and did it run?
Not really. No.
No. So you guys fixed the car up enough that at least it would run as a race car. If you don't mind me asking, how much did you pay for the junked race car?
I'd say $1,500.
$1,500 for the car, and then you had to put roll bars in it. And then I assume that you did most of the work on it, correct?
No, not me, because I was at work doing what I was doing at work.
Okay. So you were working. What, did Dad fix it up for you?
Yep, my dad and his buddies went to the shop and got it already.
So he's got a shop. You didn't do this in the auto shop at school. You did it on your own.
Outside of school.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. I got you. And I'll bet you that Dad and them probably are the pit crew, but they probably, I would guess, make you do some of the stuff on the car.
Yes.
Yes, that is the answer.
So Dad's the pit crew, Mom is the financial.
Yeah, Dad's probably sitting there watching the interview.
Yeah.
And Mom's counting the checkbook.
Yeah, it's like, you did what? You paid how much?
I know.
Sorry, I don't mean to call you out, put you in a rough spot there.
Yeah, and racing is, there's so many different skill sets that can be learned through auto racing. Not only wrenching on the cars and changing those tires and the teamwork and the sportsmanship that happens on the track, but also many of these racers, high school racers, are going out and getting sponsors, and they're doing interviews at the racetracks when they win a feature. And I've taken some of them to do radio interviews and TV interviews. And so they're, learning that marketing and that PR side of things too. So we're, not only do we want to get people into racing through HSRA, new fans, new racers into the sport, but also expose them to what else is out there in the automotive industry, mechanical engineering, but also motorsports and the different opportunities that you can have for future careers.
Jonathan, I assume that you're a teacher at one of the schools.
I am not. I'm a former racer, and I raced for 17 years. My family raced for 35 years, primarily in Wisconsin, and grew up in racing and have worked for a long time in marketing and photo, video production, and studied communications, but no, have never been a teacher. Sometimes I wonder if I should have been, but I'm a former racer and just have big passion for growing the sport and getting more young talent into the sport.
Is this your idea?
It's not. A lot of the ideas now come from me as well as the racetracks, but it was started by two of the track promoters in Wisconsin, and then they wanted to see it grow and become something bigger. So they approached me and asked if I'd be interested in being the director of the High School Racing Association and helping to grow that and work with schools and work with racetracks. And I was still racing late models at the time. And so that was a lot, but 2022 was my last season actually racing and behind the wheel of my own car. So looking forward to the 23 season and working more directly with these students.
I think that this is a brilliant idea and a wonderful thing that I think that with somebody like you behind it could be a nationwide thing.
I'm thinking that too,
because there are a lot of people like myself that are with you on this, and I think that it's going to take off. I hope it does anyway.
We had Rodney on earlier, and he's part of the organization down here in the Gulf Coast.
Yep, we need to put you two guys together, and I'm sure that he's still watching.
Yeah.
Well, Jonathan and Curtis, we sure appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to us today. We really appreciate it. Great information. Good luck. And let's get it back in touch here during the summer season when everything's hot to trot out there on the racetracks and get an update from you guys.
Yeah, that sounds great. Really appreciate you having us on, and hopefully my audio quality was okay. I didn't quite get back home before the interview, so it's
good.
It's all good.
Yeah. Worked out great. Thanks again, both of you. Curtis, good luck in your racing this year.
Thank you.
You bet. You guys have a great day.
Guys.
Thank you.
It.
You bet. All right. Gosh, save
You're
that.
excited.
Save that. I got all excited on that one.
Pencil them in.
Okay, I'm going to turn the page here. Where am I? Oh, the N-Wheel Time race card is sponsored by Texas Nostalgia Modified Production. Kind of folds right in hand with our last interview.
And Texas Nostalgia Modified Production is racing this weekend up in Wichita Falls, Texas. So you want to see some cool cars that leave on the clutch, go to the drag strip there in Wichita Falls and take a look at Texas Modified Production cars.
Yeah, if you look at gassers and you like gassers, then that's the thing to do. Yep.
And then this weekend is the next weekend is the Gerber Collision and Glass at Route 66 in Chicago for NHRA. And this weekend is Kansas for NASCAR. The following weekend, they're at Darlington. And then on the 21st, they're doing the North Wilkesboro All-Star Race. First time NASCAR has been to North Wilkesboro in quite some time. And then on, of course, Memorial Weekend, there'll be the World 600, the Coca-Cola 600, whatever they call it now, at Charlotte. This weekend is the Miami Grand Prix, and my sister lives in the Fort Lauderdale area. She said traffic is a nightmare.
I'm sure.
From Fort Lauderdale down to Miami. Wow.
And then also next on the 21st is the Romanian Grand Prix. And then Memorial Weekend is the Monaco Grand Prix, which is always, that's kind of the premier Grand Prix in the F1 circuit.
Well, yeah, beautiful setting.
In Monaco.
Yep.
IMSA is going to be at Laguna Seca next weekend. And I imagine our friend Alec Udell will be driving at Laguna. And one of the tracks I've always wanted, even if I couldn't drive it, I'd love to go on it for a ride on it with somebody who knows how to do it fast. And then IndyCar on the May 13th is the Grand Prix of Indianapolis, where they're going to run the road course that they built for the F1. They'll do it as the Grand Prix of Indianapolis, and then of course Memorial Weekend is the Indy 500.
Yep, looking forward to that. Time now for Jeff's segment. We're gonna have to name this thing
Jeff's segment.
No,
We need more Jeff.
We need more Jeff. Anyway, today's features on GM's electric tow dolly, and I couldn't figure out whether this was something that they did back in the 40s and the 50s, or this is something new.
No, it's actually it's new for General Motors. You want to hit this
Yep.
right here? Go. GM's electric tow dolly helps small vehicles drag bigger loads. Some of us tow all the time. Contractors, landscapers, vehicle transporters, for these folks, get the vehicle with equipment to handle the moving and stopping. All that mass is pretty simple. For folks who only tow occasionally, the decision-making process gets a lot more complex. Maybe you're towing a camper, say 4 or 5 times a year, Conrad, but you've got
4 or
the
5
size.
times a year. When you told me to say it.
Say, the equipment, the vehicle to properly do that, even though it's not hauling a load the rest of the time. That means lots of underutilized miles, driving heavier and less efficient vehicles that you need to, or buying a separate vehicle just to do the tow job. That's very, very inefficient. What if you didn't have to accept all these compromises, drive whatever you like, and when the time comes, tow that 4,000-pound camper, hook it up to a compact SUV, and go? If towing assistance systems dolly that GM patented ever comes to fruition, that problem is solved. This power smart device hooks up between the trailer and the load and includes powered wheels. So not only could you move it and stop large loads, you could also tow the vehicle. With the right sensor suite, which is a package that you get, this powered dolly could hook up itself to the tow vehicle automatically or with special controller handle inserted in a person's able to move around the yard or storage area. So this is something that GM's come up with. I kind of like it. Not really sure how I would use it because I really don't tow. But if you've got a boat or a travel trailer, something of that nature, this would work.
I wonder how much it's going to cost.
Don't know yet.
And that's probably a big factor in all of this,
and
whether it's going to work or not.
patented by General Motors. So there you go.
All right. Well, good luck on selling that.
Mhm.
That's all I can say. The tow dolly.
Tow dolly.
There's a feature I wanted to do here. Something that I thought was interesting. Toyota has confirmed that it will reveal the redesigned 2024 Tacoma pickup on May 19th. And I bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
The top-selling midsize pickup is the third of the Japanese brand's 4 body-on-frame vehicles sold in the U.S. to move onto Toyota Motor Corporation's global F1 platform. They're known internally as the 4 brothers, the Tundra, Sequoia, Tacoma, and the 4Runner. Toyota has released a series of teaser images in recent weeks, giving hints about the 4th-generation Tacoma in advance of the reveal. Included in those is confirmation that it will have an optional hybrid iForce Max powertrain, as does the Tundra full-size pickup and Sequoia large SUV, tuned specifically to provide more power and towing capacity instead of just added fuel efficiency. The redesign is expected to be powered by a turbocharged 2.4-liter inline 4-cylinder engine, as well as the hybridized optional powertrain. It'll be available with an optional manual transmission as well. Through April, Tacoma sales in the U.S. are up 5.7% this year to 75,000. Now, that's only through April. Last year, the Tacoma was the brand's 3rd best-selling nameplate in the U.S., trailing only the RAV4 compact crossover and Camry midsize design. And this is the number 1 selling midsize pickup truck. Beats out the Ford, beats out the Chevrolet, all the others. This is the number 1. Very popular.
Yep.
I drove one last week, which I'll review, of the current model. Loved it. And still has the V6 in it. I got pretty good gas mileage on it, so I don't know what people are talking about bad gas mileage out of the vehicle. But Tacoma, very, very popular.
Recognized name.
Yep.
Yes, and a lot of, if you look around, look at the midsize segment, you look at the trucks that are out there, the majority of them are going to be Tacomas. There's something about that truck, the way that it's designed, the way that it's built, the power to weight ratio, its capability. The interior of this new one is just great. Loved it. And it resonates with a lot of people.
Well, it's got a long history too, because even back in the 70s and 80s and stuff, with when it was smaller into that compact, really the compact, they called them tacos, because the mini truck guys out, the surfers out there in California, everything, they built on that vehicle, and that brand that name is just kept with it.
Jason, when he got on board with Lexus, one of his first vehicles was a Tacoma.
I totally get it, totally, and especially after just driving one recently, and because it had been a while since I'd been in a Tacoma. Our mechanic at the hangar, he owns a Tacoma, swears by it. This is his third one.
He was in a coma last Saturday.
A Tacoma. Oh. Hopefully he's not in a coma.
Hey, Jeff, George was asking on your GM tow vehicle, would Don be able to tow the Corvette behind the Jaguar with it?
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
Tow the Jaguar with the Corvette?
Well, the Corvette would be more reliable than the Jaguar.
Yes.
You got to keep digging.
He is.
Keep digging.
Mm-hmm.
Call your comments in to 867-5309.
There's a song in that somewhere. I'm not exactly sure what it is.
Dire Straits.
All right. The In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available 24/7 through the iHeartRadio app. Just look for In-Wheel Time Car Talk. We also video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com. Podcasts are at your fingertips on over a dozen of the most popular podcast outlets. The In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show continues right after this quick break.
Are you a car enthusiast? Come experience the 27th Annual Keels and Wheels Classic Car and Boat Show. Join us Saturday, May 6th and Sunday, May 7th at the Lakewood Yacht Club in Seabrook. This fun family event features vintage and contemporary race cars from Le Mans, Indy, Formula One, NASCAR, and much more. See classic and vintage boats of all types, not to mention American and European pre- and post-war classics. Pre-sale tickets are $30. Students are just $15. Children 12 and under are free. Purchase your tickets today at keelsandwheels.com.
Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise-in around and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise-in date right here on In-Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6 or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. Live, it's the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, HADA President, Chairman of the Board, Mr. Joe Chastain is going to be with us. Conrad will have the In-Wheel Time Car Clinic, and I'll bring you this week's auto news. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Thanks so much for joining on this Saturday. And joining us right now is a fellow that you may have heard of the name. Now, you might not know about the dealership. It's Chastain Ford. Joe Chastain's with us. Joe, good morning to you.
Morning. How are y'all doing?
Well, we're doing pretty good. You're probably thinking, what in the world have I gotten myself into here with these guys at In Wheel Time? So, Joe, you're chairman of the Houston Automobile Dealers Association, and that's a pretty prestigious title that you've got, and a lot of responsibility because you kind of head up all the dealers in town and try to keep everybody on the same page. And you also have a Ford dealership, but it kind of flies under the radar for the general public. So tell us a little bit about, first of all, if you don't mind, Jastang Ford.
Well, we're right out of downtown, but nobody knows where we're at. We're in a real commercial place. We're right off of 59, the East X Freeway, and 610 North.
Yep.
But it's mostly commercial businesses over there. We do retail and commercial, but the biggest portion of our business is commercial trucks.
Right. So you sell the white Ford F-150s as a fleet vehicle. And I understand that you sell a bajillion of them, for lack of a specific number.
I wouldn't say that, but we sell a lot, and we sell the Super Duties, the 650s, 750s, 450s, 550s. We sell a lot of vans, a little bit of everything. And our core customer is small to medium-sized Houston-based businesses, but we also sell large companies and we sell to individuals. And our sales will kind of skew different than a normal Ford dealer. A normal Ford dealer will sell a two-wheel drive F-150 XLT in different colors. We probably do worse in that truck than we do in anything else, where we'll sell the owners and managers of the companies, the Lariats, the King Ranches, Platinums. So we skew real high and real low in the scheme of things.
I bet you the folks up there at Dearborn are going, what kind of a model is this? Because it's so unusual, at least for me.
It is totally different. It's really good because we don't experience the real highs when the retail market is really, really good. But we also don't experience the real lows. We do a lot of government business too. We sell a lot of cities and stuff all over Texas.
Joe, how did you get into doing this fleet stuff and wholesaling kind of the Ford product?
My dad sold vehicles, and so I started off working in the parts department of a Chevy dealership in town when I was in high school.
What Chevy dealership was that?
It was Mike Persia Chevrolet.
Buy your Chevrolet from Persia, Mike Persia
exactly
Chevrolet.
Right.
Sorry, had to go there.
McKinney and LeBranch.
Yes.
And, long time ago. And then I worked for Marvin Rush, who owns Superior Trucks and Trucks of Texas in Houston for a long time. And we were Peterbilt and GMC dealer. And so I just kind of gravitated towards that. Then the first dealership I owned was a Volvo heavy truck dealership. I'd done the big over-the-road 18-wheeler
yep.
and also small trucks.
So your location over there off of 610 on the east side of 59 is perfect.
It is.
Because that is such a commercial part of the city with people that you're close to sell vehicles and service their vehicles for them.
I was thinking the same thing.
Location couldn't be better for you.
And we're really close for everybody because when most people, a lot of our customers never come to the dealership, but when a vendor or a customer comes over there, they get there quicker than they think because we're right out of downtown. We're not that far from anybody. And and it's starting to redevelop with Buffalo Bio East End. They're going to start, more people are going to be living over by, so our retail business should pick up. And, I grew up off Telephone Road, so I know a lot about the East End. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of really good small companies over there.
So I was going to ask, how many units do you have on your lot, and do you have pre-owned as well?
We have pre-owned, but we don't have a lot because we're real constricted. I've only got 6 acres where I'm at, and part of that is a retention pond. Then I've got another lot that I've got 3 acres where we keep a storage lot for a lot of our commercial units because we're way too crowded where we are. And we'll have, it varies so much on our inventory. We've probably got maybe 100 units in stock right now. We'll normally, sell, a lot of ours are orders. Like
Right.
we sell Centerpoint, City of Houston, Waste Management. So a lot of bigger companies and they'll order. Small companies buy out of stock. So we've got to have vehicles in them with bodies on them, because a lot of the stuff we sell is a cab and chassis and it doesn't have a body on it. So we'll have to guess what people are going to buy, and we'll stock units with bodies already on them because any more companies can't wait for you to order one and get a body put on it. So
yeah, everybody
Yeah,
wants it now.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years ago. I used to go to some meetings with John Smith, your parts manager, and you guys are very well known in Houston for having a wonderful parts operation as well to serve the independent community.
right. We do a lot of parts business. We don't do a lot of, some of the dealerships specialize and do a really good job with body parts, but we're constricted on our space and don't have enough room for that. We do mainly mechanical parts.
Gotcha. Let's go back to the new stuff that you've got. So I'm thinking right now, as you mentioned, City of Houston, CenterPoint Energy, white, single cab, maybe a double cab, F-150, and does it even have an AM radio in it?
Yeah, the company trucks are a lot nicer than they used to be.
So you don't have any that have like heater delete and no radio anymore.
Rubber floor.
Companies don't do that, or they can't get anybody to drive them.
Right. So your trucks have air conditioning. They have AM and FM radio in them, and they're comfortable trucks with a bench seat in the front, I assume.
Right. And a lot of them will have power windows and locks.
Yeah. Do they even make crank windows anymore?
They make them, but not many people get them.
I just going to say, yeah, exactly. So, okay, I got an idea of all that. Well, I wanted to establish who you are for everybody that normally watches our show. The Chastang Ford isn't more at the top of mind, and that's not a put down at all because you've got your own thing going.
It's focus.
Yeah. But let's talk for a minute and shift gears and talk about HADA. And I assume that you've been a member of HADA for as long as you've been alive, pretty much. And, it's a great organization. They put on a wonderful car show, Houston Auto Show every year. That's actually transitioned and is changing as we talk because the pandemic really put a different twist on car shows, new car shows. And how would you say that HADA did this year?
HADA's done really good. We've not missed an auto show, and Wyatt, our president, does a great job with it. And our auto show is way better attended and put on and a better show than some other cities around that have really struggled with their auto shows. And I think one of the things is the ride and drive.
Yes.
And we've got, even in January in Houston, we've got good weather where, it's fine to go and look. Some people, that's all they want to do. But a lot of people, you want to ride and drive different kind of vehicles within 5 minutes. I mean, no matter if you're looking at, a Ford or a Chevy or a Ram, you can look at all of them in 5 or 10 minutes inside of there, then go drive. So that's what makes the Houston Auto Show way better than most of the other shows.
And that
Not all the
continues.
other shows do that.
And Joe, that continues to expand every year. It seems to get bigger and bigger.
All the manufacturers say that some of the manufacturers are getting out of other auto shows, but most of them have stayed in our show. And I think the ride and drive part is the best thing. And we've adapted to changing conditions. I think this year we're getting, in fact, I know for sure, we're going to have more space than we did. We started doing it with the boat show when COVID and some of that stuff happened.
Right.
And so you can look at a new boat, new pickup to pull it of any kind that you want. So it's we're changing with the way the times are.
Yeah, exactly. And, the manufacturers have changed the way that they display their vehicles, and some of them don't even show anymore for whatever reason.
Or limited.
Yeah, very limited. And because you almost are forced to, some of the dealers have had to step up to have displays at the car show because the manufacturers don't.
No, you're exactly right. Some of especially the smaller manufacturers,
yes,
not the GM or the Fords or the Stellantis, but some of the other ones have elected to not be in any shows for whatever reason, which I think is a big mistake. So their dealers have had to step up and do it. But we still have really good participation, even in the smaller brands or the luxury brands. Sometimes they're the smaller brands.
Yeah. Let's talk about sales in the Houston area. How are things going among the dealers currently with the fluctuating, the change, the downturn in the economy and that sort of thing?
I don't think we've seen a downturn in the economy in Houston. And I think if we see anything, it's going to be very small. The dealers are doing very well. And it's a better thing for the consumer right now than it has been, because we're finally starting to get inventories in. And some of they called it chip shortage, but I think it was a overall commodity shortage. And so if you look now, like if you want an F-150, there's a lot more F-150s all over Houston, or the Chevrolet brand, or the Ram, or the Toyota, or any of the vehicles. You're seeing vehicles on dealers' lots, whereas 2 years ago, we looked like we had parking lots that didn't have anybody parked in them.
Mm-hmm. And saw a lot of concrete.
Right. And that now, so I think it's a better deal for the consumer, because if you don't have anything to pick from, the prices are going to be higher. And the Houston dealers are like, we'll go out to dinner with each other, but we're real competitive with each other, whether it's intra or inter brand. And so the more vehicles on the lot mean the consumer's going to get a better deal of whatever brand he's going to buy. And there's great dealers in Houston.
Are the incentives
every kind of brand?
Are the incentives coming back? I see a little bit more of that on some of the commercials.
Yeah, as the day's supply goes up, the manufacturers are saying we're not going to do incentives. All of them are saying that. They're gonna, because if they lose a 1/10 of a point of market share, those guys are going to lose their job. So what do you expect them to do?
Yeah.
There's not as many incentives as there used to be, but there's still going to be incentives, especially on certain models. As you see vehicles stack up of any kind, like specialty vehicles, our Raptors and stuff, there's not going to be incentives on that, or the Broncos yet. But like F-150, yeah, there's incentives. There'll be finance incentives, and it's going to be or money off the hood, one or the other.
Yeah, we kind of created an expectation. Buyers just kind of look for that now, just like, Jeff was asking. It's just something that the market seems to have adopted, whether you like it or not.
Joe, what about financing these days? What are you seeing as far as changes are concerned here in the Houston area with financing?
Rates are going up, credit's getting tighter, but there's also, I know with us, I can't speak to some of the other brands, but there's finance incentives on a lot of the vehicles. They're doing that instead of just money off. You can get either one, but a lot of times the finance incentive is a better deal.
How is the EV push, the move to go electric, impacting your side of the fleet business?
Thinking the same thing.
Some of the bigger companies. Okay, now this is a personal opinion. The EV stuff isn't going to go as fast as everybody says, because there's a lot of unintended consequences. Like if you live in an apartment, where are you charging it?
Right.
And the hot and the cold, or if you're pulling something. The companies can control it better, and I think you're going to see more companies have a bigger percentage of EVs than individuals, in my opinion, because they know how far that vehicle goes every day. They're not using it to go back and forth to Dallas or Austin on the weekends and things like that, that I think it's more controllable. But I think you're going to have more EVs. The battery stuff's going to get better as we go, but it's not going to happen as fast as some people have said. A long time ago, people said, everybody's going to lease. Well, that didn't happen. Leasing is good for some people. It's not good for everybody. EVs are going to be the same exact way.
Yeah, and Ford kind of bet the bank there for quite a while on the red carpet lease, and it was quite successful for a period of time, but it has waned its notoriety.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about a lease, you're appraising a used vehicle 3 years from now. Good luck on that.
Yeah, we've seen how that's worked with the used car market here in the past couple of years.
You're- but that's what you've got to appraise that vehicle for 3 years from now. So it's not for everybody. And mileage and the way we put miles on vehicles, most people in Houston, you put a lot of miles. Well, if you put a lot of miles, normally leasing isn't the best thing. If you know how many, or somebody changes job, they go from not driving many miles to driving a lot, then the lease was okay when they weren't driving many. Now they are. It isn't as good. They get upside down in the vehicle. So there's just, you need to deal with a dealer that throws everything out and explains everything to you so that the consumer understands. And most of the dealers will do that, but you've got to ask questions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
How is it getting employees at a dealership these days?
Getting good employees, like in any business, is really, really tough. But you have to make sure that you treat if you want your customers to be treated well, you've got to treat your employees really well. I think it's like that with almost any business, but especially in the dealership, because, most of us, some of our dealerships, the hours aren't the very best, and you can make good money. A lot of our people are paid on incentives, whether it's be part salesmen, technicians, the salespeople, the sales managers. So you need to make sure you're treating your people well. But it's like any other business. It's really hard. But once people get in working in a dealership, they really like it. And so they normally don't leave. They stay doing that. As long as you treat them good, you're going to keep them.
That's right.
And you represent a good brand.
I want to buy a Ford F-150 Platinum. Want to order it from the factory. Would you take my order?
Probably.
He knows you more than
he
you
was
think.
doing the calculations in his head. I saw the numbers.
It depends anymore, depending on the vehicle. F-150s, yes, we can take orders and get them built. Like a Super Duty, we were allocated so many for the year in our retail stuff, and the customers were allocated on, I think it was an average of what they bought the last 4 or 5 years. And so we were limited on what we could do. And then the order bank would open, they'd get all the orders really quick, and it would close within a week or two.
Oh, my.
So, I've been doing this over 50 years. It's never been like that. I don't think it'll ever be like this again, I hope. But it's just a different time.
Yeah.
And it isn't going to last like that. They can build more than we can sell. Incentives will go up. We'll have bigger day supply on the lot. Things are going to get back to
normal.
I'd say a new normal, but more normal that we're used to than what it has been. The last couple of years haven't been normal. It's just not been. And it won't stay like that. You can already see it change.
Joe, it's an honor and pleasure to talk to you. We really appreciate that. And let me just throw this out there. We love Rochelle Salinas, and she is your ace in the hole, I'll tell you.
I totally agree with that.
Okay. Well, let's stay in touch. Let's talk again later on this year.
Absolutely. I'd love to. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
You bet.
Yep. Joe Chastain, HADA, Houston
guy.
Automobile
Yeah.
Dealers Association Chair, who I've never met before. Great guy. Want to do business with that guy.
Imagine all the history that he has, that he knows about.
And a Houstonian as well.
Absolutely.
Time now for Conrad's Car Clinic. You got something cooking over there?
Does changing transmission fluid hurt my transmission?
No.
The answer is no. But does a transmission fluid exchange really need to be done? Well, I'll tell you yes. And I'll tell you yes because the reason why is automatic transmission fluid has primarily 3 functions. It needs to clean, it needs to lubricate, and it needs to cool. And when one of those functions stop working in the fluid, that's what leads to transmission failure. And so you want to make sure you keep fresh, new fortified fluid inside your transmission. Now, you had talked off the air about changing fluid in a transmission. I'm assuming you did a pan drop. And after doing a pan drop, most automatic transmissions hold 10 to 12 quarts of fluid. When you do a pan drop, you're replacing about 4 quarts of fluid. So you replace about a third of the fluid that's in the transmission. And the new fluid is trying to clean the old fluid, and it doesn't do a good job of cleaning the old fluid. So what happens is all of the solids that are floating around in the old fluid fall out in the pan and get sucked up into the filter and clog the filter.
It's like doing an oil change. All you're doing basically is you got to take the filter off and then leave the old oil in the pan and just top it off.
Right.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Or sucking it out with a vacuum hose.
With an enema hose.
So, to me, heat's what hurts transmission fluid. The transmission fluid is a hydrocarbon-based fluid. It's an oil, and the oxidation rate of a hydrocarbon doubles every 18 degrees above 180 degrees. So if they say your transmission fluid's good for 100,000 miles at 180 degrees, well, if you've got one of those cars where you can kind of push the button and read the transmission fluid inside your vehicle, well, you'll see in most instances when you're driving down the highway for any period of time, that transmission fluid is going to be something north of 200 degrees.
Wow.
So now you've immediately cut the life of your transmission fluid in half. So instead of it lasting 100,000 miles, it's really only going to last about 50,000 miles. So when you really kind of finalize the math on that, that's why I've always been a believer in changing your transmission fluid about every 30,000 miles, just to make sure you can keep that clear, clean fluid in there working, doing what it's doing.
Those increments are already in your manual, and they're already given to you on what to do when you buy the car.
And some manufacturers list transmission fluid in their maintenance schedule. Some don't. Some say never change the fluid.
Well, some of them you can't get to it to check it.
Well, you can't check it, but you can change it. There's ways you can still change it. All transmissions have a cooler on them. So if you think about that, what they do is they pump fluid out of the transmission, in most cases, to the front of the vehicle, and then there's a heat exchanger inside the radiator. Well, that heat exchanger inside the radiator carries the transmission fluid and then back to the transmission trying to cool it. But if you think about it, what's a thermostat on a car anymore? About 210, 212 degrees.
Yeah.
So you're trying to cool your transmission fluid with 210 degree coolant. That's why this temperature going up is such an issue, and that's why you want to change your fluid on a 30,000 mile interval.
Yep.
Put a transmission cooler on the front of it. That'd do you some good.
That would definitely do you some good because, and you'll see some people will do an aftermarket transmission cooler, an air-to-air, cooler.
Yeah, just stick it ahead of the radiator.
And drop that transmission fluid temperature even more.
So do you have that type of cooling ability on an EV?
There is coolers on EVs, but EVs don't have a transmission. They have a direct drive electric motor. But that electric motor needs to be cooled.
Right.
The batteries need to be cooled. So when you look at an EV, you may have 2 or 3 different cooling systems on an EV that need to be maintained.
Wow, didn't know that.
Speaking of which, despite electric vehicle tax credits and significant efforts to expand public charging, the share of new vehicle shoppers who will avoid EVs has grown over the past 3 months, according to J.D. Power. In March, 21% of new vehicle shoppers surveyed said they are very unlikely to consider an EV, up from 19% in February and 18% in January. Buzz, are you listening? The percentage of shoppers who said they are very likely to consider an EV has remained relatively flat over the past 3 months, landing at 27% in March. About 34% of shoppers said they are somewhat likely to consider an EV, and 18% say they are somewhat unlikely to consider. EVs made up 7.3% of U.S. market share in March, according to the firm, down from 8.5% in February. Recent announcements to expand the public charging network by Walmart, Tesla, and others have not swayed resistors, according to J.D. Power. Poor charger reliability also creates EV reluctance, J.D. Power found, in that 1 in 5 public charging attempts failed last year. Oops.
Well, you in the Whole Foods.
Yeah, the Whole Foods place.
Yeah.
The charger didn't work.
Multiple chargers didn't
how
work.
How can you do that? Here, take the electricity from here, run it through a meter, and put it out that hose to plug in your car. How difficult is that? Am I wrong?
Nope.
Yeah, that's
On the way back from the Hot Rod Tour, we stopped at Buc-ee's, and there must have been 40 Tesla chargers, at least.
They're all Tesla.
They're all Tesla. And Kathy made the comment, well, what happens if you don't have a Tesla? Well, you either need an adapter or you don't use it.
Tesla has a very dedicated charging adapter to charge their vehicles. That's why Tesla has their charging stations out. Now, there are people that make a conversion adapter.
That's exactly what we talked about.
I think those are a bit of a fire hazard, from what I heard.
Anyways, there was like maybe 4 or 5 out of a whole bank of charging systems. There's 4 or 5 cars.
Well, everybody's still learning about all of it.
But the gas pumps were lined up.
Yes, they were.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Time for a quick break now. I'm going to wrap up the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show after this. Stay with us.
Are you a car enthusiast? Come experience the 27th Annual Keels and Wheels Classic Car and Boat Show. Join us Saturday, May 6th and Sunday, May 7th at the Lakewood Yacht Club in Seabrook. This fun family event features vintage and contemporary race cars from Le Mans, Indy, Formula One, NASCAR, and much more. See classic and vintage boats of all types, not to mention American and European pre- and post-war classics. Pre-sale tickets are $30. Students are just $15. Children 12 and under are free. Purchase your tickets today at keelsandwheels.com.
Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6 or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. Well, that's a wrap for this week's In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. When you're online, check out our Facebook page, give us a like, tell your friends about us, and share our junk if you would, please. You'll get Conrad's Unicorn Hunting features along with all things automotive all week long, including new car reviews, upcoming events, cruise-ins, racing events, and other informative and entertaining car and truck goodies. You can find the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app. Hey, be sure and catch the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show on our live video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com every Saturday, 8 to 11 a.m. Central Time. Daily 30-minute podcasts are available from over a dozen of the most popular podcast providers. The In Wheel Time Chief Engineer is David Ainsley. Our Marketing Advertising Advisor and Video Technical Director is We Need More, Jeff Zekin. For booking agent and podcast pumpkin Mike Mars, along with Mr. Know-It-All, his royalty, King Conrad DeLong. I'm not going to admit to it, but they call me Don Armstrong.
Yep.
Next week, we're live again, and that is going to be on May 13th, 2023, on all of our In Wheel Time Car Talk outlets right here on the Smoke and Mirrors Network, 8 to 11 Central Time. Have a great weekend. So long for now, everybody.